Chapter 416. Zhang Xiaobao took out the plan and began to discuss the details with Wang Wan. They discussed how to share the shares, how to distribute the benefits, what kind of people to choose for management, how to cooperate with each other, and how to transport the goods in the future. Apart from sending the goods to more remote places, they would basically be transported by water. The two of them discussed until the evening. Zhang Xiaobao listed many previous cases and finally came up with a plan. The details were not as confusing as before, and the people here did not need those restrictions. If someone really did it in the future, they would add on. They found a 3-star manager and talked to him for more than 2 hours. They told him to bring people to contact the local merchants tomorrow morning. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan then remembered that Zhang Zhong had already contacted the people over there. The 2-story Hai Tao Pavilion could be considered the best restaurant in the province. It was located in the prefectural city. If you walked along the widest street in front of the prefectural city, you would be able to see the building after walking for more than 1,000 steps. At this time, Zhang Zhong was sitting in a room on the 2nd floor of the restaurant that was separated by a screen. When Zhang Zhong saw the screen, he shook his head. The restaurant did not think about it carefully enough. There was actually only a space separated by a screen and not a separate room. His family's restaurant had a special place for people to talk about secret matters. Not only was there a separate room, but there were also 2 floors around the room. The middle was empty and some linen was stuffed in to prevent noise. When Zhang Zhong arrived, there were already 3 people waiting in the room. One was Zhang Yi, the other was Nian Wanjiu, who did not want to come, but had no choice but to. As for the last person, Zhang Zhong had not seen him with his own eyes, but he knew this person. This was all thanks to his son. Whether it was Zhang Xiaobao or Wang Wan, they both knew the importance of information. When they arrived at this place, the first thing they had to do was to spread the information out. If they did not know anything, they could ask the local people or the local gangsters. These people were well informed. As long as the people approved of the officials, they were on the same side. As long as the people scolded the officials, they should be dealt with. There was no need to send special investigators to the government to understand. They just needed to listen to the people. Zhang Zhong knew that this person's surname was Xin, and his name was Xin Guifu. It was a very ordinary name, but what this person did was not ordinary. He divided the salt pans that were supposed to be managed by the prefecture. One for Zhang Yi, one for Nian Wanjiu, and one for himself. His share was the largest, and the other 2 had to be given to the people in the yamen. Apart from that, Zhang Zhong also knew that Xin Guifu had a caravan that traveled here from the capital. However, they did not have a fleet, so they had to travel by land and sea. Since Lu Zhou's tributes were good, some people had set their eyes on this place. Moreover, they also had salt. This salt seemed simple, and it could bring Xin Guifu an additional income of several thousand strings of coins every year. In order to obtain more profits, he joined forces with some people in the provinces and made the provincial governor a mere figurehead. He even imprisoned the provincial governor, so the provincial governor did not have any power to use. The newly appointed provincial governor Shi was clearly suppressed to the point that he could not turn the tables. He had no choice but to submit a memorial to the imperial court. However, he did not have any evidence. It was just a feeling. Moreover, his memorial might not be able to be sent directly to the capital. His family was already there, and the 50 mansion soldiers were too weak. Apart from this information, Li Sun also revealed that Xin Guifu had a prince backing him. He was not the crown prince. Therefore, Li Sun's intention was to do what was necessary. If worse came to worst, he would step in and support them. After all, he was not afraid of a prince who was not the crown prince. Li Sun was very dissatisfied with this. Look at the local people who were being cheated by that little bit of money. If he dared to compete, he would smash him to death with money. In fact, Li Sun's intention was to tell Zhang Zhong that as long as the prince did not come personally, he could deal with Zhang Zhong however he wanted. He was not afraid of luring him out. How much money could he get from here in a year? Just those local specialties and tributes, at most, it would be 10,000 strings of coins. It was estimated to be 5,000 to 6,000 strings of coins, not including the salt. The money for the salt should be from Xin Guifu's greed. How pitiful. Was it worth 5,000 to 6,000 strings of coins? He was so poor that he went crazy. At worst, he would give him some business and pity him a little. Li Sun was confident in this aspect. He was rich. Zhang Zhong went through these things in his mind. He said with a straight face, "I am here. If you have something to say it quickly." Provincial Governor Zhang, there is no rush. It is better to eat first. Zhang Yi was not as afraid as before. He also changed the way he addressed Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong did not care about the way he addressed him. He still said with a sullen face, I am not used to eating outside food. Tell me, what is the matter with your good friend? Why does he give money to officials for free? What is his motive? The three of them did not expect Zhang Zhong to be so difficult to talk to. He had an attitude of condemning them. Chen Wanjiu was the one who got the least money. He was also a little afraid of Zhang Zhong. He did not dare to say anything. Zhang Yi had just said it, so it was not good to continue. Shin Guifu could only smile and pick up the teacup on the table. He said to Zhang Zhong, I have long heard of Sir's reputation. Sir loves the people like your own children. When you were in Sanshui County, your family started a business. You also helped the Yamen of Sanshui County to give the Yamen runners a salary. When you arrived at Huayuan County, it was even more amazing. I did not expect to meet Sir here. Sir, the wine and dishes have not been served yet. I will use tea instead of wine to toast you. I think that after Sir comes here, the local people will have a good life. Shin Guifu held the bowl and waited there. He thought that after hearing what he said, Zhang Zhong would feel uncertain. He would say a few words of kindness and drink a bowl of tea with him. In this way he would be easier to talk to in front of Zhang Yi and Chen Wanjiu. Unexpectedly, after waiting for a while, Zhang Zhong just looked at him with a cold smile. He did not have the intention to pick up the bowl. This made him feel awkward. He asked, Sir, what are you? What am I? Shin Guifu, you are just a small businessman. I am a fourth-rank official in the imperial court. There are many people who want to respect me. Do you think I will give face to anyone? You dared to show off the news you received 2 hours ago. Your family in Kaifeng is not planning to live anymore? Zhang Zhong's voice was not loud, but it was like thunder in Shin Guifu's ears. He had just received the news. How did Zhang Zhong know? It seemed that he knew a lot of things. He even knew where his family lived. What else did he know? Sir, I don't mean anything else. Sir, you don't know. I also do things for others. Shin Guifu changed his previous calmness and wisdom. His hand holding the bowl trembled. The water in the bowl spilled out, but he did not dare to put it down. He said to offer tea, but others did not drink it. He did not say that he should be disrespectful. If he put it down, it would be disrespectful. If he put it down, it would be easy to lose the lives of his family members. He wanted to remind Zhang Zhong and let Zhang Zhong know that his background was not simple. Zhang Zhong and Yan Wanjiu could not express how regretful they were now. From Zhang Zhong's words, they knew that Zhang Zhong was not ordinary. When they heard Zhang Zhong talk about his family, they did not believe it. Now they had to believe it. Zhang Yi signaled Yan Wanjiu with his eyes. Wei Wei shook his head. He did not want to stand out now. Zhang Yi had no choice but to speak up himself. Provincial governor, there are some things you don't know. Brother Shin, sometimes we are forced to do things. Forced? You were forced to rob the salt pans in the province? Then I will write a memorial and ask the emperor. Which dragon son forced Shin Guifu to do this? Which dragon son forced him to join forces with Lu Zhou's men to suppress provincial governor Shi? The emperor has so many dragon sons. I'm sure one of them will stand out, right? Zhang Zhong was confident of his victory. There was a hint of arrogance in his tone. At this moment, Shin Guifu could no longer hold the teacup in his hand. It fell onto the table with a splash. He did not seem to notice that the water had scalded him. When they heard the commotion, 2 workers immediately rushed in. They looked at Zhang Zhong first. When they saw that Zhang Zhong was fine, one of them asked, What can I do for you, sir? When the 4 people in the room saw the 2 workers, they were stunned. The 2 workers were not the same one from before. Their clothes were clean and tidy. One of them had a handkerchief on his shoulder and the other on his forearm. They looked energetic as they stood there. They made people feel comfortable just by looking at them. The most important thing was that there was a rice sprout embroidered on their chests. It was a very cute rice sprout. You too? Zhang Zhong did not know what to feel. He pointed at the 2 workers and asked, Master, Between the Clouds and the Water has bought Ocean Wave Pavilion. From now on, Ocean Wave Pavilion will belong to Between the Clouds and the Water. My brother and I are workers who have just been transferred over from the shop in Hangzhou. We've just arrived. The same goes for the manager and the master. Master, do you want to eat here? One of the workers answered respectfully to Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong nodded with a smile. Yes, the food cooked by my family is very comfortable. The 3 of you should have a taste as well. Zhang Zhong did not need to ask to know that this was arranged by his son. The so-called manager was Zhang Liang, and the master was naturally the original head chef of Between the Clouds and the Water, Master and I. He was used to the dishes cooked by Master and I. His son had even thought about this. He could not blame his son and daughter-in-law for not knowing. The two little guys had calculated too many things. If others wanted to know clearly, they would be exhausted just by listening. The most surprised one was Zhang Yi. He opened his eyes wide and looked at the two workers. When was it sold? Why didn't I know about it? In reply to County Magistrate Zhang, it was sold the day before yesterday. Your distant relative may not have told you. We came a little late and encountered a big storm. We have to go back and explain. We just arrived today and took over the shop. The worker replied in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. How is that possible? Who told him to sell it? He dares to make the decision under his name? Zhang Yi shouted loudly. He forgot that there was a provincial governor here. Chapter 417. Zhang Zhong also learned about this. In his mind, Zhang Yi must die. At that time, the owner of this restaurant was forced to jump from the roof of the second floor. He broke many bones and later died. Zhang Yi didn't know that Zhang Zhong wanted to kill him. He thought that Zhang Zhong was happy and cooperated with them because the restaurant was bought. Shen Guifu didn't have such a good idea. He knew Zhang Zhong's character from the letter he sent. He was not so clean and had killed people. Thinking of what Zhang Zhong had done before, he reached into his pocket with his trembling hand and took out a string of coins. There were about 10 pieces. He put them on the table and said to Zhang Zhong, "My lord, this is 6,000 strings of coins. I wanted to make a big profit and buy the things you transported on your ship. Unfortunately, you came before I could buy them. Take this 6,000 strings of coins. I'll leave Luzhou tomorrow, no today, and never come back. My lord, what do you think?" Zhang Zhong glanced at the flying money on the table. The top one was 500 strings of coins. If that was the case, then 6,000 strings of coins should be 12. If it were someone else, they might be tempted, but he smiled. "Xin Guifu, do you want to leave now? It's too late. Since you got the news, you naturally know how much money my family has. 6,000 strings of coins is too much. I'll take this money and use it to do something for the people. When the time comes, I'll give you a quick death. Men, arrest these 3 people for me." Following Zhang Zhong's order, the screen was suddenly kicked down. 20 people rushed out from the other side. A flash of saber light flashed, and the 3 people sitting at the same table with Zhang Zhong were all detained. "My lord, I don't want to die. Please spare my life." Zhang Yi suddenly climbed up, but he didn't dare to really climb to the ground. The saber was still on his neck. "Many people don't want to die, but they were killed by you." Zhang Zhong picked up the flying money on the table, sighed, and said in a very soft tone. Zhang Yi did not dare to struggle, but he could open his mouth. He unwillingly asked, "Sir, those people were in trouble before you came. It has nothing to do with you. Can't you just let it go this time?" At this time, Nian Wanjiu also shouted, "Sir, let's put the past behind us. At least when you came, nothing happened here. Why do you have to offend people? Even if you kill us, can you bring the dead back to life? My lord, you don't think that only Xin Guifu is capable of turning our province into this, do you? Sir, as long as you let me go, I will tell you. Even if I don't let you go, you still have to tell me. I don't believe that you can hide anything from me under the great torture. Indeed, I have nothing to do with those people who died, but I want you all to die. The reason is because you all turned around without saying anything to me after arriving at the execution field." Zhang Zhong did not give the 3 people any chance at all. It was useless to say anything. "My lord, not saying anything counts as a reason?" Nian Wanjiu unwillingly asked. "Yes, this is my reason," Zhang Zhong replied straightforwardly. At this time, Xin Guifu saw that there was no chance for him to live, so he asked in resignation, "Governor Zhang, can you tell me how you know about me? And how did you know that I received the news 2 hours ago?" Zhang Zhong thought for a moment and nodded. "Fine, I'll let you know why you died. You and that person usually transmit information very slowly." He did not dare to use the military and official methods to transmit information for fear of being discovered. Therefore, when he collected information and transmitted it, he used another method, which is the express delivery. In Yaozhou, no matter what the news is, it will arrive within a day regardless of wind or rain. After leaving there, it is a 2-man 6-horse race. After reaching the official stop, as long as you spend some money, you can get supplies. It can be said that they travel day and night. An hour before you received the news, they had already arrived. Could it be that they were detained when they arrived at the official stop? Xin Guifu continued to ask. "No, why would I be detained? The information you got was too simple and crude. It didn't even mention that I was the owner of the EMS. It seems like you guys didn't do a good job of gathering information. You guys used the EMS to find out about me and then used them to send information. If I didn't know, what would I need them for? Zhang Zhong did not care whether the three people knew or not. The three of them would definitely be killed. As for the worry of Nian Wanjiu pretending to be mysterious, he did not care. As the governor of a province, it was impossible for anyone to think about it. There were only so many things here. The output of the tribute and the salt were also there. If someone really wanted to get involved, it would be for this little thing. Those with little ability would be dealt with one by one. Those with great ability would not care about it and would just throw it to the guards of the prince's mansion. Zhang Zhong, you have to think carefully. You do not have the right to kill us two county magistrates. You can only think about reporting it. When the higher-ups send people to investigate, we will tell them about your express delivery. Let's see what you will do in the future. Zhang Yi's mind turned quickly. He immediately thought of a new method of blackmail. Zhang Zhong did not care at all and walked out. One of the three people said to Zhang Yi, "Master did not plan to kill you. It rained heavily and caused a flood. Wulei County Magistrate Zhang Yi, Yushan County Magistrate Nian Wanjiu, and Xin Guifu, who came to do business, were guarding the most important place. In the end, they were unfortunately washed away by the flood." "No, I do not want to die. I have something to tell Master. Brother, help me pass a message. I will give you 100 strings of coins." Nian Wanjiu was scared. The little bit of hope he had just now had disappeared. The person holding him shook his head. "If you gave me that before, I would have dared to accept it. But now, no matter how much you give me, it is useless. You have money but not life to spend it. Let's go. Tell me what you know and I will give you a quick death." Zhang Zhong quickly solved the matter. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan began to worry. They are too bold. Isn't it enough to only use the express delivery in the state? Why did they accept the business here? What if something happens midway? Who can bear the responsibility? Zhang Xiaobao had just received the news not long ago. He was happy that the news came in time. He was also worried that they had gone too far. There was no unified maintenance channel here. At the very least, they had to wait for the game store to open up everywhere. It would be best if the restaurant also opened up branches. At that time, they would not have to rely on the official rest stop, the hotel, or the game store to provide their own horses and food to form their own information transmission network. "Xiao Bao, are you afraid that the news will be leaked?" Wang Wan thought about the speed of the person who came. The county magistrate of Yaozhou did not dare to use military horses. Otherwise, it would be the fastest speed for an emergency report. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "I'm not afraid of the news being leaked. I am afraid that Li Longji will not be willing to accept the news. If we use his official rest stop to send the letter, what if he also wants to use it? Won't we not have enough horses? The most important thing is that he did not get any benefits. We can't let the person who came to send the letter back. Mobilize the family's money and open hotels in various places. It doesn't matter if they are small. Buy good horses and ask them to wait for a while. After the arrangements are done, we will accept the business from other places. It is not easy at all. Who do you think can think of so many things before doing something? In fact, the most important thing to solve is the communication system. If there is a radio, it will not be so troublesome. If we want to send a message, we can just send a telegram. How does that thing work?" Wang Wan suddenly thought of the slow transmission of information. They actually had to use horses to transmit information. How fast could a horse run? How long can a horse run? It is better to fly a kite with the wind. After cutting the string, the kite can float for dozens of miles in a breath if the weather is good. Flying a kite? "Xiaobao, why don't we raise some pigeons? In the future we can use pigeons to send messages. If we can pull a few hundred pigeons from the pigeon's house to other places, we can fly them a few hundred times. If others can tame them, we can also try." Wang Wan suddenly thought of a method to send messages over long distances and said to Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao actually had this idea long ago, but he does not know how to do it. When he heard Wang Wan mention it, he said, "But we don't know how to do it. Otherwise we can ask others to see who knows how to do it. Sleep first. Tomorrow morning we will go out for a walk. There are many strange people." "I think that is fine. I think that old man who helped your father is more powerful. Ask him where he is tomorrow." Wang Wan pulled a thin blanket over her navel and slept next to Zhang Xiaobao. After sleeping for a while, she suddenly said, "Xiaobao, why are you so cold? You are not afraid of the heat anymore." "Who knows? Go to sleep." Zhang Xiaobao muttered and moved to the side and fell asleep again. Zhang Zhong came back. He wanted to see his son, but he heard that his son was asleep. He could only go back to Jiang Wang clan and tell them what happened just now. He also praised his son and daughter-in-law. The next morning, Zhang Zhong went to find Zhang Yi and Yan Wanjiu. He believed that after a night of interrogation, they should be able to get some information. Master, you're here. Zhang Yi told you what he knew, but Nian Wanjiu refused to open his mouth. He kept muttering, I can't say. If I say I'll die. If I don't say I'll die. I really couldn't pry open his mouth. As soon as the guards saw Zhang Zhong, they came forward to report. It seems that we have met a tough bone. Let them go first. Don't let them die. Now is not the time to die. As long as they don't interfere with what I am doing, it will be fine. When I am done, I will send them to the capital. Zhang Zhong did not expect Nian Wanjiu to be so stubborn. Since he did not want to say anything, it was fine. Master, you are not going to kill them? This person thought that Zhang Zhong was going to kill them. Zhang Zhong waved his hand. A country has its own laws and a family has its own rules. They should not be killed by me. Why should I kill them? Even if they are sent to the capital, they have the ability to ask the court to let them go. That is the court's business. I can't just casually kill them. If I kill them, I will not be able to control them in the future. If I kill someone who should not be killed, won't I regret it for the rest of my life? Master is right. If you kill them, you may be wrongly accused. Master, do you still want to go in and take a look? This person respectfully said. Chapter 4:18. When Zhang Zhong went to work, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did not stay idle. They took more than 20 guards and went out for a stroll. The two of them did not want to suddenly encounter any danger when they were walking outside. Places that were easy to encounter danger, such as the mountains, were absolutely not to go. They wandered around the county, especially places where there might be people who raised birds, such as the market. If there was anyone who raised pigeons, they would have to ask carefully. The two of them strolled slowly. There were indeed quite a few people in the market, but most of them were selling things. If they couldn't sell anything, they would barter. The goods they sold weren't anything good, they were all daily necessities. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan walked for more than 100 feet, but they didn't see anything that caught their eye. There was no trace of people who sold birds. Not to mention birds, even those who sold flowers, fish, and insects could not be seen. This is the effect of not having money. It has made people put away some of their playful mood. The only thing they can do is to think of ways to work more and then eat their fill. It is really too pitiful. Wang Wan looked at the clothes that the people around were wearing. She did not see many new clothes. The so-called new clothes were not patched. Even the people in the shop could not do this. Even the people in the shop were wearing patched clothes. It will get better as long as they do not lose hope in their hearts. I guess the people in the shop are deliberately wearing torn clothes. Let's go, there is a shop selling the 4 treasures of the study in front of us. Let's go inside and ask. Zhang Xiaobao pulled Wang Wan forward under the protection of a group of guards. When they arrived at the door of the shop, the person inside was standing near the door and looking outside. Do you have anything good to sell here? Zhang Xiaobao asked. What good things? If you think it is good, then it is good. If you think it is not good, then it is not good even if I exaggerate. The man standing at the door said politely. At the same time he kept looking at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. He also liked children, especially cute ones like Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan entered the store and looked at the items. They found that there was indeed nothing good, so they believed the man's words. Wang Wan curiously looked around the shop and asked, Are you a waiter here? Buddy? I don't have the money to hire a waiter. I only have enough food to eat. If I hire another waiter, both me and the waiter will starve to death, the man said helplessly. Oh, so that's how it is. Then why are there so many patches on your clothes? I see that some of the patches don't seem to be places that can be rubbed off normally. Wang Wan pointed at the man's clothes and asked. The man looked at Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao warily and couldn't answer for a while. Zhang Xiaobao seemed to understand something and said to the man, My name is Zhang Xiaobao. I am the son of the new provincial governor. You don't have to be afraid. After Zhang Xiaobao's words, the man immediately let out a sigh of relief. He waved his hand and signaled for Zhang Xiaobao and the others to follow him. He turned around a door that led inside and passed through a corridor. He led the group of people to the outside of a room. If I knew you were the young master, I wouldn't have been afraid. To be honest, these patches were specially sewn on. Otherwise, if the bailiffs of the county saw them, they would think that there is still money to be made in my shop. It is the same for other shops. Some ordinary people with slightly better families also wear patched clothes when they go out. Usually the things sold in the shop and the stalls outside are all ordinary goods. They definitely don't dare to display good goods. If that's the case, they will be snatched away and won't be given a single copper coin. If the two of you really want to buy something, Then go into this room and take a look. The things inside are all good. Since you are the family of the new great official, I won't make money. I will directly sell at the cost. As long as there is a great official here, the future days will be good. The man stood at the door and said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan with a smile. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan suddenly understood. At the same time they were a bit angry. When they got off the ship, they sent people to collect information. They actually didn't find out this news. They failed in their duty. The two of them nodded at the same time and let the man lead them in to take a look. When they entered the room, they saw that it was indeed different from the things displayed outside. Zhang Xiaobao came to the front of the pen rack and looked. He pointed at a pen and asked, "Shopkeeper, how much is this pen made of weasel hair? Let me see. If you want to buy it, just give me 60 copper coins. The cost is the cost." The shopkeeper came over and reported the price. Zhang Xiaobao nodded. 60 copper coins is indeed not a profit. It seems that the price you paid is also low. I will give you 100 copper coins. I will buy it. As Xiaobao spoke, he naturally didn't need to take out money. He was still young and couldn't carry too much money on him. The person next to him passed the money over. The shopkeeper was very embarrassed when he picked it up and said, "Actually, the cost of this pen is only 56 copper coins. I just said 4 copper coins. The space is also considered as storage money. I didn't ask for much. Do you know who raises birds here? My father likes little birds, so I want to buy 2. Zhang Xiaobao felt that this person was too kind. He kept so much stock and only asked for an extra 4 copper coins. It was normal to say that it was 70 copper coins. To buy such a pen in the capital, one couldn't even think about it without 200 copper coins. The shopkeeper held the money in his hand and was a bit excited, saying, "Actually, it is cheap. The people who hunt here also can't sell their prey at a high price. The people outside don't come to buy much. It is not worth it for the people here to go out once. You ask about the birds, there really isn't one. However, if the new good official wants one, he only needs to post a notice. Then many people will go up the mountain to catch birds. A good official, isn't it easy to get a bird? No. Oh, then forget it. If he can't post a notice, how can he be a good official? Then we will leave now. I wish the shopkeeper's business prospers." Zhang Xiaobao didn't ask about the birds, but he knew the attitude of the local people towards his father. This could be considered a gain. As they spoke, the group walked out again. The shopkeeper followed behind them. When they were about to reach the door, the shopkeeper said, "Young master, why don't the two of you take some paper back? This paper is good for practicing calligraphy. Although it is not as good as good paper, it is actually a good official who posted a notice. He is a good official who doesn't force people to do things. Those birds that sound good indeed don't exist. However, in our county there is a family that raises pigeons. It is old man Chang. His pigeons are not bad, but it is a pity that they don't sell them. The bailiffs are the same. His family has a few strong guards. The bailiffs have suffered a few losses and don't know why they don't dare to provoke them." "Pigeons? Which family? Tell us the place and we will buy all the paper you have." As soon as Zhang Xiaobao heard the word pigeons, he immediately became energetic. What he wanted was pigeons. While asking for money, he pulled the shopkeeper and asked him to lead the way. "Follow this road to the west. After passing the government office, then the county office. After walking for more than 1,000 steps, you will see a small wine shop. After going around that house, you will see a small courtyard. Old man Chang lives in the courtyard." When the shopkeeper heard that the new young master bought all the paper, he was very happy and stood at the door to show the way. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan carefully noted it down. They didn't care whether the paper was properly brought or not, and directly trotted in that direction. "Is anyone here? Help me shout." Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao found the courtyard. They stood outside and shouted towards the inside. They also asked the bodyguards who followed them to shout. The bodyguards' voices were very loud. "Is anyone here? Come out and breathe. Hurry up or we will tear down the courtyard." A bodyguard shouted foolishly. His shout made Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan tremble. They hurriedly said to him, "Who let you shout like that? Be polite. It seems that I will have to give you more training in the future. It is easy to get into trouble when you go out." It's still the two children who are sensible. This old man is really afraid of others tearing down the yard. "You're Xiaobao, you're Yaowan, smart and quick-witted, aren't you?" As soon as Zhang Xiaobao finished scolding the bodyguards, an old man came out from inside. He was supported by someone and walked to the courtyard gate. In fact, it was just a fence. There was no high wall at all, so they could easily see the people inside. The old man asked someone to open the door while smiling at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. Wang Wan and Zhang Xiaobao were not surprised at all. The only thing they did not expect was that the person who raised the pigeons was this old man. Wang Wan's mouth moved. Do you think the old man knows us so well through the pigeons? Does he know anyone in the capital? I think so. So the pigeons raised by the old man are not ordinary pigeons, but the carrier pigeons we are looking for. This is good. Let's see how we can persuade the old man to raise them for us. Zhang Xiaobao also thought of this and replied to Wang Wan. The two people walked forward and the bodyguards behind them followed closely. When they reached the door of the house, the old man suddenly said to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, "The space inside is small. Can you let your bodyguards wait outside?" When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan heard this, they raised their heads at the same time and looked into the old man's eyes. They did not see any conspiracy, but they still did not dare to take it lightly. Zhang Xiaobao hesitantly asked, "Can we bring two people in and let them stand? We don't need too much space." "Okay, let's bring two people in. Then let's bring two people in. The little girl has a lot of thoughts. She can't be tricked." The old man did not refuse this time and led the four people in. Wang Wan said sweetly, "Grandpa just praised us for being clever. If we don't bring two people, Grandpa will not be able to take responsibility if something happens. You little girl are not ordinary. No wonder Minister Bai praised you as rare in heaven and earth. Tell me, how did you find me? Why did you find me?" Chapter 419. Wang Wan's trust in Zhang Xiaobao made her stand there and give the old man a smile. The old man put down his hand, looked at Zhang Xiaobao and said, "Kid, you can't let Cuckoo take such risks in the future. Can you guarantee that you can kill me in one go? Or can you make me unable to hurt Cuckoo? I used to be a guard, then a bodyguard and then a housekeeper. I've seen many things." Zhang Xiaobao coughed and let go of his hands. He didn't make a sound. Wang Wan could tell that the old man wasn't an ordinary person. He didn't mean to hurt them. Otherwise, based on what the old man said just now, if it was true, he would at most suffer some injuries when dealing with the two of them. Since there was no danger for the time being, they decided to chat first. They couldn't ask about the pigeons right away. Wang Wan smiled sweetly again. Old Grandpa knows Grandpa Bai, but Grandpa Bai has never mentioned old Grandpa. When we return to the capital, we'll ask him why he didn't tell us earlier. Little girl, are you still testing this old man? I know him, but your Grandpa Bai's status is much higher than mine. I'm just a housekeeper. In the past, when I saw him, I would greet him. This time, if you didn't come, he wouldn't have told me, especially you two little guys. That letter praised you again and again. Seeing you two today, I know that hearing about you is not as good as meeting you in person. You are really extraordinary. One dares to use himself to test me, and the other is standing in a position that can threaten me. Although I can't guess how he can hurt me, the kid's position makes me very uncomfortable. Little girl, if he moves, will you move?" This time the old man reached out to touch Wang Wan's head again. Just as he was about to touch Wang Wan's head, he bent his fingers like a claw and grabbed Wang Wan's head. At this moment, Zhang Xiaobao moved. He used his elbow to hit the old man's waist. At the same time, his other hand had already pulled out the steel needle from his sleeve. His elbow didn't touch the old man, but the hand holding the steel needle actually stabbed the old man from behind. It was impossible for ordinary people to do this. They wouldn't use any strength and it would dislocate the arm. However, Zhang Xiaobao could do it. This was the escape torture technique. It was used to break free from bindings or handcuffs, and it could also be used to attack unexpectedly. Wang Wan also reacted immediately. She tilted her head back and used the iron bridge technique. Her legs left the ground, and she used the tip of her foot to tap the old man's calf. If one looked carefully, they could see a little cold light in the pom-pom in front of her shoe. Although the old man was just being supported by others, his reaction was not slow at all. Regardless of Zhang Xiaobao's elbow that hit his waist, he directly reached out to grab Zhang Xiaobao's hand that came out from behind. It seemed to be very difficult. He had to use his arm to slightly push Zhang Xiaobao away, otherwise he wouldn't be able to touch the hand that attacked from behind. While blocking Zhang Xiaobao's attack, he also had to deal with Wang Wan. The old man seemed to feel that Wang Wan's kick wasn't simple. He didn't raise his leg to block, but raised the leg that Wang Wan was about to kick backwards, dodging Wang Wan's attack. At the same time, he bent forward and grabbed Wang Wan's calf when he missed. Zhang Xiaobao didn't use his elbow to attack the old man's bites. Instead, he took advantage of the old man's hard resistance and suddenly raised his right leg from the side. Wei Wei bent her body towards the old man, so that the steel needle in her right hand moved forward a little more. Her right leg was also able to kick the old man's body. The small velvet ball on Zhang Xiaobao's foot also flashed with a cold light. Wang Wan dodged, and when her attack didn't hit the old man, she first used her hand to support her body. When she supported herself, her body slid backwards and she turned 180 degrees. She kicked the guard's leg who hadn't reacted yet, and her foot rubbed against the ground with all her strength. Wang Wan's body immediately slanted up, and her head just happened to be facing the old man. She put her hands together and separated them, and with half of her arm bent, she bounced towards the old man. The old man had just turned sideways to avoid Zhang Xiaobao's kick when he saw Wang Wan flying towards him in such a posture. Moreover, Zhang Xiaobao's side had already bent down, and along with the movement of the steel needle in his hand, he had no choice but to give up the idea of standing still. He used his hand to support himself against the wall beside him, and his body directly moved back 2 feet. At this time, Wang Wan had already bounced to the old man's position just now. Zhang Xiaobao stopped with his back sweep, and with a spring of his leg, Wang Wan used her elbow to support herself, and directly came to Zhang Xiaobao's side. Zhang Xiaobao half squatted while Wang Wan stood sideways. Both of them had 2 steel needles in their hands. The old man seemed to have not done such vigorous exercise for a long time. After dodging, he coughed. After a while, he said, "Good skills even if you are using weapons. If I'm not wrong, the steel needles in your hands and the sharp knives hidden in the little things on your feet are all poisonous, right? No wonder you are so bold. 2 little kids, it seems like any one of you can deal with them. If that's really the case, if this old man didn't overestimate you in advance, I would have really suffered losses. This old man knows that you wouldn't do that even if you could take this old man's life, but I can't run away from some losses. Xiaobao, what's wrong with your arm? How can you attack from behind from behind?" And Cuckoo, at that time, you couldn't see Xiaobao's movements at all. "How did you know that he could hold me back?" "Mine was trained." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he rolled up his right sleeve. Inside there was a hidden arrow launcher. There were already 3 hidden arrows on it. Trust and tacit understanding. Wang Wan also rolled up her left sleeve. There were also 3 hidden arrows. This time the old man was speechless. The other party still had a backup plan, and he was forced to this point. Although he was a little older, he could even deal with an ordinary Imperial Guard. The 2 little kids were more than 5 years old, and their nominal age was 6 years old. Even if they were a little older, like 8 or 9 years old children, and they were still holding weapons that they had to dodge, it was still very impressive. It seemed that it was not easy for ordinary people to harm the 2 little kids. Their cooperation was too good, and their attacks were all killing moves. Needless to say, when the needles pierced the body, blood would be drawn and the throat would be sealed. Moreover, there were hidden arrows that were not used. Not to mention other things, when Xiaobao stabbed the needles in the back, he used a hidden arrow. He would definitely be shot, and there was no way for him to dodge. At this time, the 2 Imperial Guards came over. One of them asked with concern, "Little young master, little miss, are the 2 of you okay?" Zhang Xiaobao rubbed the arm that had just used the detoxification technique and looked at the 2 helplessly. "Even if there is something wrong, I can't count on you. When we go back and start training, if something really happens, Cuckoo and I will have died 100 times before you can react." Wang Wan rubbed the back of Zhang Xiaobao's arm. The detoxification technique was not that easy. It could make 2 handcuffed arms at the back to the front in an instant. It was easy to imagine the pain at the place where the bones were connected. She was also very dissatisfied with the 2 Imperial Guards. She glared at them. "In the future, I will specially add this kind of reaction training. The 2 of you are far from enough." Less than 3,000 words, free. Chapter 420. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't do anything to the guards. They had just trained for more than a year. It was impossible to expect them to be like the Imperial Guards. They could only train them slowly in the future and teach them what to do. The old man now looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, the 2 children, more and more pleasing to the eye. The 2 children cooperated very well in the fight just now. Their movements were clean and neat. When they grew up, the 2 of them would have no problem dealing with the guards in the palace together. This was the combination of 2 sorts, right? It seemed that the 2 masters in Bai Shu's letter should be a man and a woman who taught 2 disciples respectively. In this way, the 2 masters could be said to be very knowledgeable and knew everything. The 2 guards were frightened. They still didn't understand what had happened just now. They only saw the young master and the young lady quickly gesturing with the old man. The old man retreated, and the young master's arm seemed to be injured. They didn't know anything else, but it was too fast. "You 2 go out and wait outside. Xiaobao and I will talk to Grandpa." Wang Wan helped Zhang Xiaobao massage the back of his arm and ordered the two guards. The two guards knew that the young lady was a little dissatisfied with them, so they retreated embarrassedly. They secretly decided that they must practice martial arts well. Not to mention going to the battlefield to kill the enemy, they must at least protect the people they were supposed to protect. In the future, if the young master and the young lady were to do something, they wouldn't be able to live anymore. Grandpa, let's go inside. Grandpa is really powerful. If you had a knife in your hand, Xiaobao, you and Xiaobao should have used the sleeve arrows. No one would have thought that 2 8 or 9-year-old children would hide hidden weapons in their sleeves, and even less would have guessed that the two of you would react so quickly and cooperate so well. Tell me, what do you want this old man to do this time? The old man did not wait for Wang Wan to finish praising him and praised the two of them. The old man was indeed very satisfied. From the position before the attack to when he retreated, the two of them were always so perfect. One was the main attacker and the other was the support. Wang Wan was still smiling sweetly. Grandpa, we don't have anything to do. We were just taking a stroll and then we came to your place. We heard that there was an old man living here and we saw him on the shore. So, Xiaobao and I wanted to talk to you and ask about the things here so that we can go back and tell Xiaobao's father. Oh, strolling? Then you guys really know how to stroll. Come in. Xiaobao's move just now was really frightening. It caught him off guard. How could his arm do that kind of action? Detoxification technique, good skill. It must not be easy to practice, right? The old man led the two of them into the house. The layout of the house was very simple. There was a couch, a chair, and a table. There were a few small stools on the side and a small table in front of them. There was nothing else. Zhang Xiaobao shook his arm and felt much better. He would be fine after resting for 2 more days. The detoxification technique was not that easy to use. He consciously sat down on the small stool with Wang Wan, and then said to the old man, Grandpa, you can't learn this skill now. Little kids can learn it, but it's too harmful to the body. It's very painful, and it may leave behind a root cause of illness in the future. This process is very difficult. If it's so difficult, how did you learn it? The old man also understood how much damage that kind of action just now would cause to the joints of the bones. How else can I learn it? I clenched my teeth and endured it. Taking advantage of the fact that my body is flexible at this age, I can't just use it for fun. Every time I use it, I need to recover for a few days. When I go back, I have to apply medicine. Zhang Xiaobao explained. Then does Cuckoo know how to do it too? The old man asked again. Wang Wan nodded. She only knows a few simple actions. She's not as good as Xiaobao. Grandpa, do you feel that it's humid to live here? It's by the sea. When the sea breeze blows, it brings the moisture of the sea here. Also, it always rains here. If you feel that it's humid, don't live in such a house. Live in a bamboo building. Humid? How can it not be humid? I've long gotten used to it. Bamboo buildings are good, but the people don't have the time and money to build bamboo buildings. They work all day long just to eat. Since you're here, I'm waiting for you to help the people live a good life. The old man was aware of this. However, in the past, he could only dream of building bamboo buildings. Now he had placed his hopes on the Zhang family. Bai Shu's letter had detailed some of the things that the Zhang family had done. It seemed like they could manage Luzhou well. When he thought of this, the old man said, The 18 ships that followed you here are very useful. You can ship the local goods out and sell them for more money. I wonder if your family is willing to do this? The land route is controlled by Qinzhou. When the goods are transported, the officials there will take some benefits. When the goods are sold and the benefits are included, there will be no more profit. In the east is Lianzhou, and in the middle is a strait that cuts off part of Luzhou. There are mountains on that side, and only some mountain people who might not even have a household register live there. It's not easy to talk to them. If you don't go through that narrow strait, it'll take half a day to get there and half a day to get back. Moreover, the local people in Lianzhou live a similar life as here. The things here are not worth much. If you sell salted fish in the same sea, you can get it and other people can get it too. Why would they want to buy from you? The caravan that goes far away is only the one with the surname Shin. In the beginning there were other caravans coming here, but the local officials drove them away and left the Shin guy behind. Life here is getting harder and harder. The old man explained in detail. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan listened attentively. The informants had a rough idea of what happened. Now, after listening to the old man, they had a clearer idea. Grandpa, how many mountain people do you think have no household register in Luzhou? What do they need? Can you let them come out of the mountains? There is still a lot of empty land here. My family and Cuckoo family's Yongya field have been given, but no one is planting it. It'll be a waste if we leave it there. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the mountains. Since there was no household register, it meant that the actual population was more than the registered population. Life in the mountains was not as comfortable as life on the flat land. It was just that the local people used to exploit them, so life in the mountains was better. The old man thought for a while and said, "Your family has brought nearly 1,000 Kaifeng people here. Isn't that enough? If you estimate the mountain people, there are about 2,000 of them. They live in a scattered area. There are more in the mountains in Qin province. If your family has the ability to pull them down, there should be at least 5,000 to 6,000 of them. However, the mountain people don't trust outsiders. They are fierce. If you want to use force to pull people down, the little prince's guards won't be able to do it, let alone the guards in your family. If they are as strong as the two of you, we can give it a try." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were very happy when they heard that. It was good that there were people. It did not matter if they were not willing to get in touch with them. If they were fierce, they could be recruited into the army. Zhang Zhong only had an official position in the army, but he did not have any soldiers. At this time Wang Wan said, "Grandpa, do the local people have any relatives outside? How do they send messages? Is it the Xingai's caravan? How did you get in touch with Grandpa by? Did you take the official route?" Ah. These two brats, just like what Bai Go said, they were very clever and could not be compared to normal brats. They even said that they came here for a stroll. In other words, they just wanted to ask this old man if he had a flying slave, right? It's a pigeon. The old man was also a smart person. As soon as Wang Wan said that, he knew what the two of them wanted. Wang Wan smiled and looked at Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and said, "There really is a carrier pigeon. Grandpa, where did you get this carrier pigeon? Can you help us raise some? It would be best if you could teach us how to raise them. We can use the method of hatching poultry to exchange with you." Zhang Xiaobao also knew the importance of carrier pigeons. If he did not take out some substantial benefits, he could not do it. He gritted his teeth and prepared to take out the method of hatching poultry as an equivalent exchange. The old man's eyes lit up. He hesitated and said, "Your family's method of hatching poultry is not a long-term thing. Don't think that it's just poultry. When the poultry are in the nest, they don't lay eggs. At that time, a chicken will lay less than 10 eggs. Some will even lay less than 20 eggs. There is a big difference between a few dozen more eggs and a few dozen fewer eggs. It's good to take it out. Although your family has already taken out many things, there are still people who want good things. As long as you remember that the emperor remembers what your family has offered, it's fine. Wait for me to write a letter to the master and ask. If master agrees, I will help you train some people to raise flying slaves. My master is currently idle at home. In fact, he is busy with Meiguan Road and Diyu Ridge. My master's surname is Zhang. I wonder if the pigeon eggs can be hatched? Zhang Jiuling? He's back? Wang Wan immediately thought of this person and was especially happy. Zhang Jiuling's home was not too far from here. In the future, she could have Zhang Xiaobao's father write letters to them. He's back. Little girl, what do you plan to do? Do you want to spend money to help fix those two places? The old man asked with a smile. Yes, we must. We are not sure if the pigeons can be hatched. We can try. First, we won't tell anyone about the hatching method. When we have enough ducks here, Uncle Zhang will return to the capital. Then we'll have Uncle Zhang bring the method back. Zhang Xiaobao changed his mind again. The old man was stunned. How do you know that my master can go back? Of course he can go back after the places are fixed. Grandpa, tomorrow, no, in a moment I will send someone over to learn how to train and raise pigeons from you. Give me a number and my family will immediately pay to fix the roads for Uncle Zhang. Zhang Xiaobao changed the topic. He was prepared to bleed and use money to exchange for the method. Well, 1,000 strings of coins should be enough. We can't let your family pay for it. Find a few smart people. Why don't the two of you follow along? The old man liked the two children. They were smart and sensible. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. 1,000 strings of coins is too little. My family will pay 10,000 strings of coins to let the people who are fixing the roads eat better and let Uncle Zhang relax. Cuckoo and I can't learn anymore. We will definitely find smart people. In a moment I will have lunch with Grandpa. Grandpa, you must give me face. Reward, I couldn't ask for more. Bai Go has mentioned many times in his letters about you two accompanying him to eat. The old man smiled with relief. He rubbed the two children's heads with a kind look on his face. Chapter 421. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan did a big thing. The old man did not ask Zhang Xiaobao if he could decide on the money. Bai Shu had said in his letter that when the two kids did something, their family seemed to be very supportive. When they decided on something, they would tell their family and their family would agree. This made the old man very puzzled. What? Could it be that the family deliberately raised the two kids to do things outside? Or did the master predict this and tell the two kids in advance? It was not until he saw the two kids that he figured it out. Although the two kids were young, they spoke and acted like little adults. They were well behaved and steady. No wonder Bai Go liked them. It was so comfortable to be with the two kids. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan prepared to cook something for the old man. They went to look for ingredients. When Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were at peace with the old man, the prefecture was not peaceful. Zhang Zhong naturally would not let go of the people he caught. Shen Guifu wanted to punish them directly. As for the person behind this, Li Sun would bear the responsibility. He did not care what the Shen family thought. He also had to send a memorial to ask the other side to investigate the Shen family. Li Sun and the people he followed and the money he brought this time were all confiscated. The two arrested county magistrates were also sent to keep an eye on them. Zhang Zhong finished writing the impeachment memorials and had them send them to the capital through normal channels. When they arrived at the capital and received the approval, the construction here was almost done. The original local people in the two counties were investigated to see if there were any serious crimes. If there were, they would be sentenced according to the crime. If not, they would be educated and continue to be employed. The officials under them were counted. Those who were involved were all arrested. The prison cells in the prefecture were almost full. Those who were not local and could not be beheaded were sent to the docks to build a stronger dock. After a few days, when the people who were locked up became obedient, they would also be sent to work. There was no need to keep idle people. After arranging the affairs of the two counties, Zhang Zhong posted a notice to let the people know the situation. One day, in just one day, two people that the commoners hated were arrested. At the same time, a few other people were arrested as well. The commoners could not believe their eyes. The new good official was too amazing. In just a few days he had been here. He had the daily necessities, and the money of those who wanted to do something was also in his hands. He killed those who needed to be killed and captured those who needed to be captured. He acted swiftly and decisively. Xiao Sanzi, what do you think a good new official can do? I really didn't expect that those 4 people from the division or whatever didn't dare to jump out and cause trouble. An old woman did not know how to read. It was the people from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family who stood beside the notice and told the commoners the contents of the notice. There were too few commoners here who could read. Now, the commoners were used to calling Zhang Zhong a good official, a good official. The person who was asked was a young man who had just returned from the seaside. He was carrying a basket of prawns and was preparing to set up a stall to sell them. It took more than 2 hours to walk from the seaside to here. He wanted to sell them quickly, but when he saw the notice he stood there and listened. When the old woman asked, the young man thought about it and shook his head. I don't know. Anyway, it will be better in the future. Since 2 days ago, no one has come to rob me when I sell things. It seems that what the good official said that day was not wrong. My family has money. I want to borrow some money to buy a bigger boat so that I can fish more in the future. Okay, I want to change. If I have too much fish, even if I can't sell them, I can eat them as rations. It's better to dry them and keep them. It's better than starving. When you earn money, you must remember to return it to the good official. The good official should have money. I want to live a few more years and see what the good official can change this place. The old woman smiled so much that her eyes almost couldn't be seen. At this time, a person came from the east side of the street and ran directly to Xiao San. Xiao San hurriedly greeted him. This person was a manager of a restaurant in the city. He usually bought the fish and prawns that Xiao San caught. Uncle Xian, are you also here to see the notice? Xiao San asked respectfully. He also turned his body to the side to let Wei Wei see the prawns behind him, hoping that the person would buy them. What's there to look at? I've also posted one on my side. I'm happy to know that the scourge has been caught. Little San, I'm here to tell you a good thing. I thought you would arrive earlier today, but I didn't expect you to not arrive yet. I came out to take a look. I wanted Aku to look for you, but Aku is shy. Uncle Xian looked at Xiao San and said happily. Xiao San knew that Aku was Uncle Xian's daughter. Every time he went to sell things, Aku was in charge. What a beautiful girl. Unfortunately, his family was poor and he didn't dare to show any trace of affection. Hearing Uncle Xian mention Aku, Xiao San lowered his head as if he was afraid of this name. His voice also became small. Uncle XN, what good thing is it? I really don't know. It's a very good thing. Some people here want to cooperate with some local businesses. My shop is one of them. There are also fishermen. If you are willing to fish by yourself, you don't have to do anything. If you have other ideas, you can join the fishing company. The fishing company has big boats that can go farther into the sea. The things you catch will be better than what you get here. When the time comes, the people in the fishing company will sell the things and share them with the people who join. They will also give money for the sick people, make clothes for them, and fix their houses. The people who join just need to fish and don't need to worry about selling things. It's said that the wages they earn will be several times higher than what they do by themselves. Uncle XN patted Xiao San's shoulder and said. He thought that Xiao San was a good person and always wanted to marry his daughter to him. Xiao San was surprised and asked, if I join them and catch 100 caddies of fish, they won't be able to give me 100 caddies of fish? Will they deduct a part of it? You can catch 100 caddies of fish because they give you the boat and net. They also help you sell the fish. Do you want to get it? You can't be so heartless. Uncle XN was a little unhappy. That's not what I mean. I mean how much they deduct. If they deduct too much, they will have to make clothes for the people who join them and fix their houses. If they deduct too little, they will lose money. We can't let them lose money, Xiao San quickly explained. Uncle XIN was satisfied. I'm happy that Xiao San thinks this way. Join them. Who cares how much they deduct? As long as it's more than what you earned before, it's worth it. I don't think they will lose money. If you can catch more hawksbill turtles, you will have more money. These are tributes. Do a good job and build a new house. Aku can live a good life with you in the future. Uncle XN, I don't deserve. Why don't you? If I say you can, then you can. You were late today. Aku is still worried. Come back with me. I want all the shrimps in your basket. Remember to do a good job in the future. Uncle XN didn't wait for Xiao San to finish. He pulled Xiao San and started to walk back. They had just taken 2 steps when a new notice was posted. They had to stop and wait for it to be read. A servant girl in the inner courtyard of the Zhang family stood under the notice and said to the people gathered around, from today onwards, all hawksbill turtles and other kinds of turtles are not allowed to dig up eggs on the beach. Even if they catch the small ones, they will be released. In the future, we will dig some large ponds on the beach and put some weak hawksbill turtles and other kinds of turtles in them. Now, we will find someone who is most familiar with these things and will be in charge of this in the future. You must know what these things like to eat. You must be able to tell which ones are strong and which ones are weak when you see them. Sign up here and tell us about your family. Our people will take note of it. You can't lie. If you lie, you will be beaten and sent to the docks to do manual labor. You won't be paid. The people didn't understand why they couldn't dig up eggs. Those eggs were very delicious. They also didn't know why they were raised. There were some in the sea and they could be caught. If they were raised, they would grow too slowly. How long would it take to raise them? Someone asked this question. The servant girl looked at that person and said angrily, you only think about yourself? If you don't leave something for your descendants and they are caught and lost, how will your descendants live? People who go hunting in the mountains know that those with cubs are not hunted. What's the difference between digging up eggs and killing the cubs? Let me say this first. These are the words of my master. In the future, he will send people to watch. If anyone dares to dig up eggs and cause trouble, don't blame my master for being angry if they are caught. If my master is angry, even if there is no law, my master will find a way to make your life difficult. When the people heard that the good official valued this, they nodded. Xiao San said loudly, my father knows how to do this. I will sign up for my father. We will listen to whatever the good official says. If anyone doesn't listen, they will be going against me. When he shouted, the other people also shouted. They felt that the servant girl was right. If they were caught and lost, what would happen to their descendants in the future? They weren't afraid of those things growing slowly. After they died, they could leave it for their sons to continue raising. People in the crowd began to stand up and sign up. Those who knew each other also recommended. The mistress reported her family's situation. After the other party recorded it, she pressed her thumbprint. She turned to Uncle XN and said happily, Uncle XN, I didn't expect that they would even take in people who can't walk. Now my father will have a job to do and our family will have more money. Your father is quite capable. If he hadn't been pushed onto the reef and broken his leg, he would be considered a capable person. Now that the person who pushed your father has been beheaded, your family's life will be better in the future. Tomorrow I will talk to your father about the matter between the two families. We can't delay it any longer. If we delay it any longer, Aku will become an old maid. Uncle Xian was also happy. He also didn't expect that a person with bad legs would be accepted by a good official. After his daughter married over, she wouldn't have to suffer. The two of them talked as they walked. They talked about the past and their expectations for the future. The sea breeze blew, bringing along the clouds in the sky. Gradually the sky darkened. However, the two of them didn't feel gloomy at all. Instead, they felt more comfortable. "Let's go. Wash away all the old things and make this place clean," Xiao San shouted toward the sky when he arrived at the entrance of Uncle Xian's store. Chapter 422. Pedestrians were in a hurry. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the sadness of the past was gone. Today people were busy cutting meat and mixing noodles. Children were standing by the stove. Outside the window it was drizzling. People seemed to want to let the heavy rain wash away the previous hard days. When it was overcast, they bought some meat and took some vegetables home. They either fried the meat or made dumplings. Children at home swallowed their saliva and waited beside them. When the misty rain fell, it was time to eat. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were also busy. The wontons were called wontons. The wontons were stuffed with seafood, prawns, and soup boiled with shark fin. They were poured into the wontons and rolled out. Then they put pickled mustard in the bowls, some dried shrimps, seaweed, and coriander on top of the wontons. 3 bowls were carried to the table. The old man stood aside and watched the 2 little guys working together tacitly. He thought the 2 little guys would just cook some noodles. There were already cut noodles in the kitchen, but he didn't expect that they would chop the wontons and make wontons. They were busy but not in a mess. They were so nimble. When the 3 bowls were placed on the table, the old man couldn't wait to taste one of them. He ate one of them, which was fragrant and fresh. After drinking a mouthful of soup, the old man stopped. He was a little reluctant to eat it. Looking at the 2 kids who were slurping the soup happily, he said with a sentimental smile, "Brother, no wonder Baigo wrote in a letter that many people went to between the clouds and the water. Some people went there just to eat. He also ate there every day." Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan can make such delicious food. You can imagine how good the food between the clouds and the water is. No, you have to add conditions for raising and training pigeons. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan were eating to their heart's content. The fresh shrimps in the sea were really delicious. When they suddenly heard the old man's words, they stopped at the same time. Zhang Xiaobao still had the wonton in his mouth that he hadn't eaten yet. He reached out with his chopsticks to pick up the white chicken that was also in the pot and placed it on the old man's plate. He asked in a muffled voice, "Grandpa, what are your conditions?" Wang Wan nodded with a piece of seaweed hanging from the corner of her mouth. "In the future you will have to arrange my meals for me. I can't always let Baigo get all the benefits." The old man was very thick-skinned. He didn't even blush when he said this. Only then did Zhang Xiaobao swallow the yuntan and let out a long sigh. "Grandpa, next time don't say such things out of the blue." I almost choked. "Isn't it just a meal? In the future, if Grandpa wants to go out, you can go to the Ocean Wave Pavilion to eat or have the Ocean Wave Pavilion deliver it to you. My family bought it and even brought a chef over. He's the original chef of Between the Clouds and the Water. The chefs here were learning from him, and the waiters had also brought some over. The taste was not worse than other places, especially the seafood. They could eat it on the spot according to the old grandpa's taste. When the time came, they could customize the menu for the old grandpa. That should be fine, right? It's just a meal. Why are you so serious? It's scary." Wang Wan picked up some seaweed for the old man and said, "It's scary. Grandpa, eat quickly. It won't taste good if it lumps up. You can't wait until all the soup is in your mouth. If you like yuntan, Xiaobao and I will come here often to cook for you in the future." The old man looked at the 2 kids and blinked hard. He raised his hand and rubbed the corner of his eyes with his sleeve. He stuffed the food that Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan gave him into his mouth. Then he scooped up a big yuntan and chewed it vigorously. He was not afraid of the heat at all. No wonder Baigo said that I'm enjoying life. He must be not used to the sudden absence of 2 people over there. Xiaobao, find them later. I'll live a few more years and enjoy life for a few more years. I promise I'll teach them well. I can see that your family members must be living a comfortable life. They cook so well, and when they pick up food for me, they're so natural. This is a habit they have developed. The old man was a little jealous of Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan's families. He didn't know how the 2 families taught their children. Comparing other children with the 2 kids, it made all the parents in the world feel ashamed. When Zhang Xiaobao heard the old man mention his family, he smiled happily and said, "It's comfortable. Every family member has a separate medicinal cuisine recipe. Grandpa, go to the Ocean Wave Pavilion first to familiarize yourself with it, and then you'll have it. Wang Wan also smiled sweetly and said to the old man, Grandpa, you were so good at that time. Why don't you find some people to train in the future? You can watch from the side. If anyone doesn't do well, you can beat or scold them. There's also a sand table. When the terrain is explored, I'll play with you. Or you can live in my house. I can chat with my grandpa and Xiaobao's grandpa. Wang Wan found that the old man was lonely, so she wanted to find something for him to do. There were many chess and card games at home, and there was also a gate ball game. She thought that the old man wouldn't be so lonely. Her grandpa and Xiaobao's grandpa didn't care about other people's status. They wouldn't give in to each other. Okay, tonight I'll go to the Ocean Wave Pavilion first. There's no need to stay at your place. If you have nothing to do, you can go there and take a look. Tell me, how do you plan to manage this place? Did your father ever tell you about it? The old man promised Wang Wan, then looked at Zhang Xiaobao and asked. Zhang Xiaobao swallowed the soup and nodded. He did. In the future, everyone here will work together and set up various large and small trading companies. These companies will then form a chamber of commerce. When buying and selling things, they will negotiate the price with others. This way, we won't have to worry about others deliberately lowering the price. Good idea, but it's a pity that your family has to do this. In other places, the families of officials don't have such methods. Those who do have methods have to be coerced by the officials. They also have to compete with each other. It's very rare for them to work together. There aren't many big businesses here, and they just happen to lack a leader. You also don't have to worry about the government interfering. In addition, your family has a large fleet with new sales, so it's convenient to transport goods. The goods here aren't easy to sell because there's a sea in Qinzhou and the surrounding areas. All the goods are the same. If you ship them to the capital or Sichuan and then ship them back from there, it seems that you won't be able to sell them. The old man heard Zhang Xiaobao's idea and felt that it was feasible. Moreover, in the future, the locals would be able to earn money and help analyze the situation. As he spoke, he found a problem. There weren't many people here, and the goods shipped back from the other side would soon be enough for the people here to stop buying. Zhang Xiaobao saw that the old man only cared about talking and didn't eat, so he put down his chopsticks and said to the old man, Old Grandpa, do you think that when those goods are sold to a certain extent, the supply will exceed the demand? It's simple. Repair the roads. Before those goods come and go, we'll repair the roads that lead to the other places. Since Qinzhou is blocking us, we'll repair the roads to Lianzhou, Sumaozhou, Shangxizhou and Fengzhou. We can build bridges in Lianzhou. The Chamber of Commerce will pay for it, and the provincial government will also pay for it. We'll have the 4 prefectures provide manpower and we'll pay for it. As long as we harden our hearts, we'll be able to repair the roads in less than a year. Wang Wan also said, when the time comes, if they want goods from the north, there will be caravans coming here to buy them. At the same time, they'll transport the goods from the other prefectures to sell. In fact, it's just that we lack a provincial governor who's willing to suffer losses. Otherwise, we would have worked together long ago. Only through circulation can we prosper. There's no lack of goods here, but the main thing is that there's a lack of means of circulation. This makes the cheap goods in the 2 prefectures become expensive. Qinzhou is blocking us, so when the time comes, we'll use the same method to block them. We don't have to do anything, and the local merchants will force the provincial governor of Qinzhou to come and ask for peace. The old man understood now. He looked at Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan and said, You two have learned a lot. It's a pity that I don't know much. Otherwise I'd teach you well. Just like by Go, it's hard to find a good teacher, but it's also hard to find a good disciple. I know about the other prefectures, but Sumaozhou and Lianzhou are on the opposite side of the sea. Why don't we just ship them over to sell them? The old man didn't know much about business. It was mainly because business was related to politics. He didn't know what political economy was, so he could only ask. Who asked these 2 children to be taught by an expert at home? Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan knew why. Earning money wasn't the goal. Helping Zhang Zhong was the most important. Wang Wan said to the old man, Actually, it's on purpose. If not, why would we build roads? We let them come over to buy the goods to increase the circulation and increase the floating population of our prefecture. These people need to eat and stay in hotels. There are also caravans that will arrange for people to wait for the goods here. This requires a special department to appear and act as a middleman. Some people feel that our prefecture is good, so they will stay and live here. At the same time, it's also a form of attraction to the people in the mountains. I don't believe that they won't want to live a better life. Now the old man understood. Everything was to accumulate political achievements for Zhang Zhong. The financial resources of the Zhang family had always been used by Zhang Zhong. People couldn't help but admire the effort that the Zhang family had put in for Zhang Zhong. They even made a little loss in business, such as cooperating with the locals, which would make the Zhang family earn less. Even so, they had to bear the burden and pave the way for Zhang Zhong. Thinking of this method, the old man couldn't stay still and ate faster. The reason why Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't finish eating was that they were waiting for the old man. When accompanying guests or elders to eat, the host and the younger generation couldn't finish eating first. It was very impolite. Seeing that the old man had finished eating, the two of them sped up. Just as the old man finished eating, the two of them also finished eating. They began to clean up the dishes and put them in the kitchen. There was no need to care about them. The old man had someone to wash the dishes for him. The old man found that he couldn't find any fault with the two children. He just liked them. He took the tea made by Wang Wan and sat there, sighing with emotion. If the people in the world could be like the two of you, then our Tang Empire wouldn't have to worry about the surrounding countries. I have to write down this method and send it to Master. Let's see if Master can understand it and learn to find a way out for the people there. Chapter 423. The county magistrate of Huaqing County, Huaqisheng, was also riding a donkey. The mountain road was not easy to travel on. When he heard Su Lai talking to his people, he also said, "You guys are the same. You spent so much effort to make us a mere figurehead. What about now? We haven't made you a figurehead yet. I'll give you a chance. If you think you have connections, quickly run away and find someone." When the officials of Huaqing County heard the county magistrate's words, they all shook their heads. They didn't dare to run away. If they did, they would be arrested. There was no one they could find. Those who knew them were the county magistrates of neighboring counties. If they ran into each other, they would at most have a meal together. Even if it was a normal matter, they might not help. Not to mention that the provincial governor of a province wanted to deal with them. Fortunately, they didn't have any lives on them. When they arrived at the provincial governor's place, they would admit their mistakes. Perhaps the provincial governor would let them go. They were indeed regretful. Who would have thought that the new provincial governor would be so tough? He had money and people, and he didn't show any mercy. They had also heard of Shinguifu. He was a capable person in the capital, and he was the son of the emperor. If such a person could be dealt with, what were they worth? The news of the two counties being dealt with was deliberately spread by Zhang Zhong's people. He directly asked people to post notices in the two counties. The notice was written clearly. When the people of the two counties knew about it, they cheered for a while. However, the people who had the Shin family's mark on them were in trouble. The notice was written clearly that the two counties were to be taken over by the people from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family and Wang family. These people from the inner courtyard usually had some contact with them. When they came over, they had specially trained them. Although they were inexperienced, they had no problem holding up the place. The county magistrate of Huaqing County, Huaqisheng, and the county magistrate of Ninghai County, Su Lai, had nothing to do with the person surnamed Shen. The geographical location made it impossible for them to interfere with the salt pans. They didn't have to share the money. If they wanted to share, they would take more. They only took out a little to rope in the people under them. The purpose was to make them a figurehead bit by bit. They couldn't get the money, and they couldn't interfere with the matters of the salt pans. The two of them had been looking forward to this day ever since they knew that there was a new provincial governor. Finally, the day they had been waiting for finally arrived. Just like the heavy rain, the wind and clouds surged and came so quickly. The two of them gathered together and discussed for a while. Then they gathered their subordinates and asked them to come and surrender themselves. They said that the provincial governor might give them a lighter sentence because of their initiative. In fact, they just wanted to bring these people to the provincial yamen and let the provincial governor deal with them properly. Then they could do things with peace of mind in the future. It was raining heavily. A group of more than 30 people walked in the rain. They didn't feel cold or uncomfortable at all. The two county magistrates and several people who hadn't been bribed felt very happy. The others were still thinking about what to say when the time came and how the provincial governor would deal with them. In the heavy rain, the construction on the dock also stopped. The workers hid under the temporary shelter and drank hot soup. In order to hurry, they changed the 4 meals provided by Zhang Zhong into 2 meals a day. They ate 1 meal in the morning and 1 meal in the evening. Zhang Zhong still didn't know about this, otherwise he would never allow it. It was raining heavily outside. The person in charge of cooking boiled some hot soup and added a lot of ginger. The people who worked had different meals. Those who were assigned to work drank seafood soup. There was little ginger and little oil in it. Those who were paid to work drank chicken soup. In addition to ginger foam, there were some ginseng whiskers with a layer of oil floating on top of it. There were also some dry biscuits left for them to soak in. In Sanshui County, of course, the first kind was better. It was seafood soup. No one liked the second kind. There was no lack of chickens in Sanshui County, especially the Zhuangzi of Zhang Zhong and Wang family. But it was different here. Where did the seafood come from? The people who were sent here fished it from the shore. Small crabs and conches could be fished up casually. The people who cooked didn't even wash them. They directly boiled a big pot of soup. It was salty, so they didn't need to add salt. The rain is good. It has washed away some dirty things. Anong, eat quickly. You don't need to put the biscuits in the soup. Just bite off a little bit and taste it slowly. Then drink the soup. That's good. A person was looking for the best way to eat food. He looked at the people who were sent here not far away and said loudly on purpose to let them hear him. They usually should have 3 meals a day. Others had 2 meals, but they only had 1 meal. No one in the local people would think that it was wrong. It was good enough to drink some soup now. Who would give them biscuits? Those people also heard it. They couldn't tell what they were feeling. If it was before, how could they be so embarrassed? They ate and drank well. Unfortunately, they didn't enjoy enough. Everything turned into bubbles in the sea. They didn't know how long they would have to work here. Some of them were sentenced to 10 years of work. They were worried that they would have to work for 10 years. When they were free, they would probably be exhausted to death. The one called Unknown was a young man of 16 or 17 years old. At this time, he was staring at a person on the other side. This person had beaten him more than once. He would find an excuse to beat him up. If it weren't for the whip marks on this person's body when he came over, he really wanted to go over and beat him up. He wanted to return the favor to him. In the end, he didn't need to do anything. That person was in so much pain that he wanted to die. When the marks on his body came into contact with the seawater, the taste was indescribable. The person who was being stared at seemed to feel this gaze. When he turned his head and saw that it was Unknown, he sighed, turned around and slowly drank the soup. He got off easy. Since he was whipped, then forget it. The last time he beat me, I was in pain for half a month. I was afraid that I would have to work even if the salt water came into contact with it. He deserved it. Unknown took a bite of the biscuit and muttered. The people from Kaifeng were eating with them. Because of Zhang Zhong, the people from the 2 places seemed to be more pleasing to the eye. They gathered together to chat. When they worked, they also helped each other. They seemed to be very harmonious. The people from Kaifeng could drink any soup. In fact, they wanted to taste the seafood soup, but there was little ginger in it. They could only choose the chicken soup. There was a thick layer of oil on top. When they put their mouth on it and sucked, the oil was still thick. It seemed that they couldn't finish it no matter how much they sucked. Just as they were hiding under the shed and chatting, several figures appeared in the distance. They could not be seen clearly in the heavy rain and were very blurry. When the 7 figures approached, the local people immediately said to a woman who came from Kaifeng who was cooking, "Quickly prepare 7 bowls of soup. Add more ginger." These are people who came down from the mountain. They must have been drenched all the way here. The woman immediately began to serve the soup. In addition to the ginger, she also added some chopped green onions. She placed them there and waited for the 7 people to come closer. Among the 7 people, one of them was being supported by others. He was limping as he walked. By the time the 7 people reached the nearest shed in the rain, all of them had lost their strength and sat on the ground. One of them who was supporting an injured person even started to whimper softly. The injured person grabbed his thigh with one hand and touched the 14 or 15-year-old child beside him with the other. He said a few words that others couldn't understand. The older child finally stopped crying. Only then did the injured person turn his head and say to the person who brought the soup over, "Brother Lu, please don't blame me." "Thank you. It takes 6 days to walk from our place to here. I don't know if it will rain or not. When I saw the place, it was raining heavily. I accidentally fell down and cut a big hole in my leg. I also sprained my foot. The fur and jade feathers I brought were all wet. I can't sell them for much money. Remember the money for the soup first. Oh, and the ginseng roots. Well, after selling these things, I will give you the money. Give me some of the burned wood ash. I will stop the bleeding." They don't understand what you are saying. Don't ask them. Are you going to build a dock here? This person's face was pale and he spoke weakly. Listening to his words, it seemed that he existed specifically to be a translator. The other 6 listened to this man in all matters. He said a few words to them, then picked up the bowl of soup and drank it in big gulps. When the woman passed them a biscuit, they took it and ate it without saying a word. Over there, someone had already started to make wood ash for this person. This was the most common method. After the wood ash was brought over, this person pulled the leather trousers hard. A 1-foot-long hole appeared on the outside of the leg. It was still gurgling with blood. The place beside it was washed white by the rain. Just as this person was about to smear the ash, a person from the inner courtyard of the Zhang family, who had come from more than 20 sheds, shouted, "Wait a minute, don't use that ash, I have something good here." The injured person stopped what he was doing. He looked at the person and said, "I don't have so much money to give you. Is this a seedling on your clothes? Why do you embroider this thing? We only embroider it on the body. We won't stab such a weak seedling." Weak seedling? This big brother, don't look at this seedling. How many people tremble in fear when they see it? How many people will feel at ease when they see it? Come, big brother, I will take a look at your wound. It's free. You came from the mountain, right? My master, that is, the provincial governor, has regulations. Anyone who comes from the mountain can send goods to the provincial government office. The government office will buy them at a high price. They will also send a set of clothes, 2 caddies of salt, 5 caddies of vegetable oil, 20 caddies of corn, and 20 caddies of wheat flour. If you are injured, no matter how serious it is, as long as you are not dead, you will do your best to save you. As this person spoke, he had already put the medical cotton into a bottle of alcohol. He asked the person next to him to open this person's wound. After taking a deep breath, he said to this person, "Big brother, it's very painful. Bear with it." Chapter 424. At this time, another person with rice seedlings embroidered on his clothes came over. He took out 2 pills from his backpack and put them in front of the injured person's mouth. He said to the injured person, "This is for pain relief. This is for reducing swelling. You will be fine after eating it." After he gave the pills to the injured person, the 6 people who came down from the mountain immediately became vigilant. The injured person said something to the 6 people and the 6 people calmed down. After eating the 2 pills one after another, the injured person said to the person who gave the pills, "I told them that you don't need to use any poison if you want me to die. Just leave me alone. You can't stop the swelling with ashes. Even if you stop it, I might not be able to survive. You also have a rice seedling with an extra circle of thread on your body. You have 1 circle more than him. He has 2 circles and you have 3. Does that mean your status is higher than his?" "Yes, I am a 3-star servant, and he is a 2-star servant. You came down from the mountain, right? When the rain stops, follow us to the provincial government. Your wound is too deep and long. Drink more soup. When we arrive at the provincial government, let the doctor examine you." The 3-star servant didn't hide his status at all. It was also his honor. The injured person nodded and asked, "Usually when taking medicine it is boiled and drunk. Why do you have pills?" The results of the medical school of Huayuan County are not much different from the pills of Yamacha County. They are only for pain relief and reducing swelling. After boiling the medicine, you can roll it into a ball with honey. It is convenient to bring it with you. You can eat it when the wound is healed. The 3-star servant explained. The injured person was already numb from the pain. Another person was bandaging his wound with gauze. He was very careful. He even wore a pair of gloves. He didn't need to touch the wound and gauze directly. After tying a knot, blood still oozed out. However, it did stop bleeding. The bleeding was not fast. With the medicine applied, it would be completely stopped in a short time. "Why are you wearing gloves? You didn't lie to me just now, right? Is your master really willing to give you so many things? Or for free? Did he really say that the treatment is free?" The injured man looked at his bandaged leg and felt much better. However, his body was a little cold. He only felt warm after drinking a few mouthfuls of hot soup. He asked the person who had finished bandaging him, "Wearing these gloves that have to be washed after one use is like touching the dirty things on my hands to your wound. The things I use for you are the cleanest. Indeed, it doesn't cost me money. Now, am I asking you for money? What's more, these things belong to me. Even if others want money, I won't ask them for it. The medicine you took was his own. When you go back, you have to report it and supplement it. I didn't lie to you. If you don't believe me, you can ask him." The 2-star servant said with a sincere expression. He then checked the place where the wound was bandaged and felt relieved. The injured man really did ask. He repeated the words of the 2-star servant to the 3-star servant. In the end he asked, "Is it true?" The 3-star servant looked at the other person and nodded. "It's true. Not only will you get a set of clothes, 2 gin of salt, 5 gin of vegetable oil, 20 gin of corn and 20 gin of wheat flour. If you are injured you will be treated. I can also arrange things for you to do. If your people want to come down to work, the master will arrange it for you. No one will bully you. The wages will be the same as the others. If you do well you will do better." When the 3-star servant said this, the 2-star servant secretly heaved a sigh of relief. In fact, there was no such thing. It was all his own idea. The master would tell them some things. From the analysis, he deduced that the master wanted the people in the mountains to come down. Naturally, he had to give some benefits. Today he finally had an opportunity. He first promised some benefits. When he returned he would explain to the master. If he did something wrong he would be punished. If he did right he would be rewarded. Even if he was punished he would still do what he had to do. His promise represented the master. Even if the master lost a lot of money this time, he would still pay according to what he said. He felt that he was very careful when he said these benefits. The 3-star odd job servant naturally couldn't undermine him. Competition was competition, but they were not allowed to use underhanded methods internally. They had to be unified externally. When he agreed, he added some benefits, telling the 2-star odd job servant that both of them would bear the consequences. This time the injured man believed him. He looked at the people around him and found that these people seemed to be different from the people he met when he went down the mountain. Their eyes were clear and their faces were rosy. They were very energetic. They weren't like this in the past. He took a bowl of soup from the person beside him and ate 2 mouthfuls. He was puzzled and asked, "Are you guys building a pier? And it's a big pier. Could it be that a big ship is coming?" "This brother, they're already here. There are 18 big ships. There are many goods and people on them. You guys haven't come down for a long time so you don't know. The officials here have changed. The highest ranking official has changed. What's his name, CI? Anyway, it's powerful. Listen, this name is not ordinary. The original county magistrate, Zhang Yi, has been arrested. Another one, Nian Wanjiu, has also been locked up. Those people who bullied us when you came down are all there. Look, they are drinking seafood soup. They don't have any biscuits. Each and every one of them has been whipped. Once they touch the seawater they will die from the pain." There was a person in the crowd who liked to talk. He came forward and spoke to the injured man. He pointed in the direction of the people who were working for free. The people surrounding them opened up a path for them. The injured man looked over and saw that there were indeed a few people who were showing off and showing off. At this time they were able to work. It seemed like it was just as the person in front of him said. They were arrested. There were even 2 people who he recognized. At this time he forgot about the pain and said a few words to the 6 people behind him. The 6 people stood up and glared at him. "What are you looking at? If you continue looking I will dig out your eyeballs. I will stay here for half a year. After half a year, see how I deal with you, mountain barbarians." The person who was being stared at glared at them and scolded them. "You still dare to shout? I will let you shout as hard as you can. When the original provincial governor was here, half a year, I will let you do it for half a year. Later we will take you back and interrogate you again. I will not lock you up for 8 to 10 years. I will write my name backwards." A man from Kaifeng who was in charge of these people saw that this person was threatening others and went over to beat him up. The people around him did not dare to come over and help. They could only watch him beat him up. The person who was being beaten did not have any shackles on him, but he did not dare to resist. He was beaten until he cried out in pain. There were still injuries on his body. Seeing this person being beaten up, the eyes of the 6 people behind the injured man lit up. They could not speak the language here and could not understand, but they could see. They knew that person. In the past he had robbed them many times. Now that he was beaten, it meant that this place had changed. "How is it? I didn't lie to you, right? Those bad guys in the past have all been dealt with." The person who spoke just now said at this time, "Yes, I didn't lie. It has changed, really changed. In the future, when we go down the mountain, we will not be bullied anymore, right? Isn't the price for the furs fair?" The injured man was in fear all the way. When he came, he had thought of giving away some of the fur for free so that he could sell the rest of the fur for more money. He could buy some things back, especially salt and cloth. Although this place was not far from the sea, they were also short of salt. It took 6 to 7 days to walk and half a month to go back. There were 2 people on the mountain who were about to give birth. The children could not be wrapped in fur. They felt uncomfortable and always cried. Usually they would come once a month. This time it happened to be 1 month. They did not expect that he would be injured. They met someone to treat him, the kind that did not require money. In the end they knew a big thing, the world had changed. After saying this, the injured man fainted. The people in the inner court checked and knew that he had a fever. They did not wait for the rain to stop and shouted to the people around, "Who is willing to help carry him to the provincial government? Lift the shed as well to block the rain. He is sick and has a fever. If we don't send him to the hospital, he will die." If it was in the past, no one would care. Many people who came down from the mountain died of illness. They did not even have a good life, so who would care about others? But this time it was different. Maybe it was because they had a yearning for life, or maybe it was because they knew that the new good official would give them a good life. People also became kind. Immediately, a few young men stood out and made a rack to put the man on. Then, another 50 or 60 people lifted the entire shed up. They tied ropes around the pillars and threaded them with logs. Then a few people lifted the shed up with all their strength. A group of people jogged towards the provincial government. Some people followed behind, waiting for the right time to change hands. The 6 people who came down from the mountain ran in the shed in a daze. From time to time, they would look at the only person who could speak the language. As they ran, someone started to shout, "Hey, hey, hey!" Everyone followed along and adjusted the rhythm of their footsteps. Their speed increased a little. The 6 people who came down from the mountain also followed and shouted. They felt that shouting like this gave them strength. As they shouted, tears flowed down. They did not understand the language of the people here, but they were not fools. They knew that their own people were sick and these people were helping to find someone to treat them. Otherwise they would not have to carry the shed and run together. If they wanted to find a place to bury them, they could just drag them there. "Zhang Lu, do you think I will be punished when I go back this time? Just now, I promised a lot of benefits." The 2-star odd job worker asked the 3-star who was running beside him. "How would I know? Wang Xing, you are really bold. Do you know how many mountain people there are? If you give everyone like this, I guess the things we brought will not be enough. Anyway, I have boarded your pirate ship. We will bear the consequences together and enjoy the benefits together." Zhang Lu was also taking a gamble. If he did well this time, although the biggest benefits would go to Wang Xing, he would still get some. If he did not do well, he would only be punished, but he would not be chased out. Wang Xing laughed and said, "I guess I did the right thing this time. Even if the mountain people know about the benefits, they will not come down immediately. They will wait for some goods to be sent back and then come back. I guess they will have just made contact with the mountain people and be able to do some business peacefully. Think about it, it is impossible for all the mountain people to come down, right? They will only give one person who comes down once and not a second time. There are women, old people and children there. They will be able to hold on until the goods come back. If not, they will buy some from the surrounding places. Chapter 425. In the heavy rain, some were happy, some were sad, some were moved and some were resentful. Lu Shaoqing and the other 3 were very resentful at this time. The 4 of them casually found a small tavern, ordered a few dishes and warmed 2 pots of wine. Looking at the heavy rain outside through the open window, they were all in a bad mood. They still had their positions but they did not have their authority. There were many things that they did not need to use their seals for. There were many things that the provincial governor's seal was still useful for. The judges were supposed to support the provincial governor. The matters that the judges could decide, the provincial governor could also decide. The matters that the judges could not decide, the provincial governor could also decide. The 4 of them reserved their seats, but the people below didn't listen to them, and the people above didn't need to listen to them. Lu Shaoqing looked at the wine and dishes on the table, and his anger rose again. These wine and dishes were all unloaded from the ship, and when he saw and thought about it, he felt the current situation. Zhang Zhong doesn't have the time to fight with us. What should we do when he has arranged everything else and is free to fight with us? Do we watch helplessly as we don't get any benefits from before? Do we have to compromise with him? Lu Shaoqing still picked up the dishes and drank a mouthful of wine. He looked at the puddle on the ground outside and said to the other 3. The 3 of them also thought of the same thing but they couldn't think of a way. They had a little money on hand but it was impossible to bribe others. Even if they added up, they couldn't compare to Zhang Zhong's family's wealth. Just this loan alone, they had loaned out about 13,000 strings of coins, and there were still 2 counties people who hadn't been loaned out. With only a 10% profit, they could only earn 13,000 strings of coins a year. If the four of them had this much money, how could they still lend money? Countless transactions were waiting for them. When they were transported to and fro, there was a difference of a few percent. Now they could not compare. If they wanted to use money to buy people's hearts, there was only one result. Without money, they would lose people's hearts. Other than this, there was also martial strength. However, martial strength did not seem to be necessary. The crossbows were already used, so what was there to fight? They were not the original provincial governor anymore. The last method was to hand in the memorial. This had been done once, but the next day the memorial was placed in front of the door and stopped halfway. Say something. If you don't say anything, are you waiting for me to think of a solution alone? Who knows what happened to the booklet? Lu Shaoqing slapped the table and asked when he saw the three of them staring at each other. Lower your voice. What are you taking pictures for? Someone turned around and shouted, Do you know who we are? You dare to teach us a lesson? Lu Shaoqing pointed at the man and didn't know what to say. I told you to keep your voice down, so keep your voice down. Why do you have so much to say? Isn't it just a judge? Catch me? Do you just think of it as the past? Then I'll slap the table to help you loosen your muscles. I've long found you an eyesore. The man spat in disdain, and the 6 people at the table followed suit. The 7 of them were stronger than normal people, and their faces were tanned. One look and you could tell that they were the kind of people who did manual labor. Lu Shaoqing didn't dare to make a sound. He knew that if he made a sound at this time, he wouldn't be able to find a place to reason with them. If Zhang Zhong knew about this, he would definitely laugh himself to death. He turned back and said to the 3 people, It's true that when a tiger falls to the plains, he will be bullied by dogs. Don't pay attention to them, continue thinking of a way. He wanted to keep the peace, but the 7 people didn't want to. They couldn't find an opportunity. In the past, they were scared to death. Even if they did some work to earn some money, they would still be taken away. It was all because of these 4 people. Now that there was a new provincial governor, how could they not take revenge? The one who spoke just now stood up and walked to the 4 people's table. He said to Lu Shaoqing, What's wrong with you? Don't you know how to apologize? Do you think you'll be fine after slapping and talking? What else do you want? After all, we are judges. Aren't you afraid that we will arrest you? You are bullying us. You're right. We are just people from the outside. How did we offend you? You send people to take a cut of the work we do. You can bully us, but we can't bully you back. Are you a human and we are animals? The man clenched his fists as he spoke. It looked like he was about to beat them up. Chow Harue at the side said, That has nothing to do with us. We are officials and have many things to do. Of course, there are things that we didn't consider. It won't happen again in the future. Don't worry. Do you think I'm stupid? I know that it won't happen again in the future. The new provincial governor is a good official. How can you be an official? What's there to explain? Are you scared? You really have 2 mouths. Apologize. Otherwise, don't blame me. I alone will take care of the 4 of you. If you don't like it, stand up. You didn't consider it thoroughly. Do you dare to say that you didn't get a share of the money? It looked like it wasn't easy for this person to find such an opportunity. He wanted to vent his anger. He came from the outside and it was tough. He wanted to make a fortune here. In the end, he almost died. He didn't even have enough money to go back. Sorry, it was our fault. Please be magnanimous and let us be quiet. Chow Harue apologized and cried. It wasn't that he was afraid. So what if he got beaten up? It was because he thought that if he got beaten up, Zhang Zhong and the others would be happy. He couldn't take this beating no matter what. As a judge, he was forced to such a state. There was even a provincial governor waiting for him to make a move. He felt like he was going to die. The man was satisfied. He looked at Lu Shaoqing. What about you? I'm sorry, everyone. Let's be quiet. Lu Shaoqing didn't even look up. His face was as dark as the sky outside. Can you be more sincere? The man asked unhappily. Everyone, it was my fault. Please don't lower yourself to my level. I'm really sorry. Lu Shaoqing forced out a smile. And it's good that you know you are wrong. Eat, continue eating. The man was satisfied. The other 6 people were also satisfied. Even if they were exploited for such a long time and robbed of so much money, they felt very good after these few words were said. It could be considered as revenge. They had a good time, but Lu Shaoqing and the other 3 didn't have a good time. How were they going to eat? Many people in the restaurant saw this scene. A secondary 6 official was bullied to the point of lowering his head and apologizing. Fan Jianxi couldn't sit still anymore. He stood up, threw down the money and ran out. He didn't care if the rain was heavy or not. The other 3 people also walked out. The 4 people walked along the road in the rain without any destination. Chao Hui cried as he walked. In the end, the other 3 people also cried. The more they cried, the sadder they felt. The more they cried, the more they felt wronged. The more they cried, the more they hated Zhang Zhong. The people at the side occasionally saw them, but they didn't have any sympathy. Some people even scolded, crying, "You also have a day like this. Do you know how to feel? How many people have been exploited by you? Don't talk about crying, they even want to die. It's better for the 4 of you to cry than so many people crying. Cry, cry until you die." The scolding wasn't soft. The 4 people also heard it, but they didn't have the leisure to care. They were mainly afraid that the person who scolded them would also beat them. They knew very well what they had done. "This won't do. I want revenge. Let's leave this place tomorrow and say that we're going out to take a look at the commoners. We'll go to Qinzhou and inform Governor Ning about Zhang Zhong." Jiang Huanshe finally couldn't help but think of a person and said to the other 3 people. After hearing this, the 3 people hesitated. Lu Shaoqing asked, "Tang, Governor of Ning has always been against us. When we asked him to transport salt, he didn't agree. He even blocked the road over there and asked us to give him some tributes. If we go to him now, he will definitely laugh at us. Also, it may not be useful. What do we have to negotiate with him? We are like stray dogs. Being laughed at by him is better than being dealt with by Zhang Zhong in the end. We will tell him that Zhang Zhong is rich, tell him what Zhang Zhong is doing here, and tell him that Zhang Zhong has a ship. Do you think he won't be anxious? Their whole family is in Qinzhou and they are close to Luzhou. It has a lot to do with him." Jiang Huanshe finally understood. Wasn't it just a matter of being laughed at? What could they do? It was better than being bullied here. Was it better to be laughed at by the governor or bullied by ordinary people? "Alright, we will go tomorrow morning. Come, let's go to my house for breakfast. We will let the 2 of them fight each other. No matter who loses, we will be happy." Fan Jianxi had also thought it through. She brought the 3 of them home. The other 2 could no longer object. The 4 of them were now in the same boat. Zhang Zhong did not know that the 4 of them were planning to deliver information to someone else. He was checking the accounts. The 4 judges were not simple. There was nothing wrong with the accounts. They collected what they should and handed in what they should. There were more than 1,300 strings of coins in the mansion, and there was also food in the storehouse. Zhang Zhong could not find trouble with the 4 of them. He knew that this was the normal income, but there were some that did not. However, he could not find anything. The 4 of them are quite capable. It is impossible to find anything. I will wait for Xiaobao to come back and ask Xiaobao. His accounts are more complicated than this, but it is not bad at all. Zhang Zhong put down the account book and muttered to himself. He stood up and walked to the entrance. He looked at the rain outside and rubbed his face. He turned around and walked to the signing room. He wanted to see how the people in the inner court were doing. After all, this was the first time they were allowed to leave. At this moment, a group of people came running along the street. There was also a big shed. Their feet made splashing sounds as they stepped on the water. At the same time, there was also the sound of people shouting. Zhang Zhong stood at the entrance wanting to see what was going on. The mansion's entrance was always open, just like the entrance of the county yamen. What if someone came to complain? As the footsteps approached, Zhang Zhong took a step back and waited for the footsteps to appear in front of the mansion's entrance. Zhang Zhong was stunned. He immediately asked, "What's going on? Wang Xing, tell me." Chapter 426. Zhang Zhong was stunned. He didn't have time to think about what Wang Xing said about making decisions. He immediately let these people enter the manor. Someone ran over to find a doctor. It was safer to treat this kind of illness. The main thing was that these people came down from the mountain and could be communicated with. No matter what, they had to be saved. The 6 mountain people who also came down from the mountain were arranged to bathe and change clothes. Some people also prepared some food. The people who helped didn't chase them out. They also arranged rooms for them to repeat the 6 mountain people's routine. The commoners were very happy. They sent these people back alive, and they were even allowed to stay in the manor by a good official. This wasn't a place that just anyone could come here. After they finished bathing and changed into dry clothes, they came to a hall to eat. They were even more excited. Now they had something to talk about when they went out. At this time, Zhang Zhong was also listening to Wang Xing and Zhang Lu's report. After knowing that these were mountain people and the way they dealt with them, he nodded with satisfaction. Good, you did a good thing. Wang Xing directly promoted to 4 stars, and Zhang Lu also promoted to 4 stars. According to this promotion, go and receive your rewards yourselves. Thank you, Master. The 2 people said happily at the same time. They turned and ran to receive their rewards. On the way, Wang Xing said to Zhang Lu, you have to treat me to a meal. Let's eat in a good restaurant outside. Sure, the best restaurant is our Ocean Wave Pavilion. I can afford it. Let's eat seafood. Zhang Lu agreed readily. After all, it didn't cost much and it was seafood. Zhang Zhong waited for the 2 people to leave. He sat there and began to think about the future. At the same time, he was very gratified. The people in the inner courtyard were much stronger than before. They could take care of things on their own. Although they didn't give out much, it was enough to make people feel that it was a lot. As long as the mountain people's matter was solved, this place would be stable. Someone go and tell this matter to Xiao Bao and Cuckoo. Tell them to come back quickly. Zhang Zhong stood up and prepared to check on the sick man. He shouted to the people in the steward's room. 2 people immediately ran over, putting on their straw raincoats and bamboo hats. By the time Zhang Zhong found the place for treatment, the 6 hill dwellers were already standing in the hallway of the house. They did not dare to enter and disturb him, nor did they want to be drenched outside. When they saw Zhang Zhong coming over and saw Zhang Zhong's official robes, the 6 people knelt down one after another. They were very respectful as they spoke in a language that Zhang Zhong did not understand. Zhang Zhong hurriedly helped them up one by one. Since they couldn't communicate with words, he would use his body to do it. Zhang Zhong smiled and lightly patted each of their shoulders a few times. He then pointed at the room for treatment and made a shushing gesture before he also waited. After waiting for an hour, he still did not see anyone come out. Just as Zhang Zhong was getting anxious, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan ran in. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the 6 people and whispered to Zhang Zhong, "Father, how is that person?" "I don't know. The doctor is still treating him inside. Let's wait for a while. Only that person can speak 2 languages. Without him, I have no idea what these 6 people are talking about." At this time, one of the 6 people came over and said a few words to Zhang Zhong. Zhang Zhong looked helpless. Zhang Xiaobao also frowned. If it was a commonly used dialect or a dozen commonly used languages in the world, he would have no problem at all. However, he had never heard of this dialect before. Wang Wan, on the other hand, came over with shining eyes and tried to say a few words to the hill dweller. The hill dweller shook his head and slowed down his speech to speak to Wang Wan. Wang Wan frowned and also slowed down her speech. She began to talk to the hill dweller with her hand gestures. After talking for a while, the 6 hill dwellers knelt down and kowtowed to Zhang Zhong. They seemed very happy and respectful. "Cuckoo, how did you know?" Zhang Xiaobao's lips moved. "I learned it. What can't I know?" Wang Wan raised her head and said, "Actually, I came into contact with this language when I was doing a mission in the past. At that time, the place they were at was too torturous. The 2 neighboring villages spoke different languages. Fortunately, they all knew Mandarin. I stayed there for 3 months and learned from the locals when I was bored. When I was almost done, I left. I didn't expect the hill dwellers to speak the same language as the people there. Occasionally, there would be a difference in vocabulary. You'll know after a few gestures." Zhang Xiaobao understood now. He looked at his father and thought about how to explain it to him. Zhang Zhong was indeed curious. How could his daughter-in-law speak such a language? His daughter-in-law had always stayed at home. When did she learn it? Although he was curious, Zhang Zhong had already acquiesced to this kind of thing. He could accept even more unimaginable things. He had already gotten used to it over the years. What else could he do? His son was his and so was his daughter-in-law. When he saw his son looking over, he touched his son's head and said, "Xiaobao, in a while when that person wakes up, when I talk to him and ask him to convey his thoughts to the 6 people, let Cuckoo listen by the side. Don't make a mistake." Zhang Zhong didn't mention why Cuckoo would say such a thing. Zhang Xiaobao nodded and didn't say anything. However, he was very touched. Although there were so many incredible things, his family never asked and always supported him silently. Wang Wan stuck out her tongue. Just now she was anxious and excited. Otherwise she wouldn't have talked to him. She stood at the side and thought for a while. She felt that she should be familiar with the vocabulary, so she started talking to the 6 people again. Before the person came out, Wang Wan had already understood a lot of things. She said to Zhang Xiaobao and Zhang Zhong, "He said that village?" Try. There are some people, more than the people who sent them here, fewer than the people who work at the docks. They produce chuayu there. They also said that they lack salt. 2 children are about to be born, so they came over to exchange for cloth and salt. They used the salt to rub the children's bodies and used cloth to wrap the children. They said that if they used fur to wrap the children would be uncomfortable and would always cry. They also said that the people here didn't treat them well in the past, but now the people here are good to them. They said that they don't need to give them so many things. They just need to buy the soaked fur at a normal price. They will buy things back. Every time they say that the sun in the sky has to rise 6 to 7 times and set 6 to 7 times before they can arrive. They also said that they want to thank us for saving their people. Without that person they won't dare to come out to buy things in the future. They want us to save their people. They can give us more things the next time they come. That's it. That's it. Zhang Zhong breathed a sigh of relief. That's easy. I'm just afraid that they can solve everything by themselves. If they lack things, then give them. There are more people than the people who sent them here. There are more than 100 people who sent them here. They take turns to carry the shed. There are more than 1,300 people at the docks. It's hard to count. Zhang Xiaobao was also worried. Suddenly he thought of an idea and ran out. After a while he came back with a bag of money on his arm. He put it on the ground and gave Wang Wan a look. Wang Wan immediately started talking to the 6 people again and pointed to the copper coins on the ground. A person stood there, squatted down and played with the copper coins. He smiled and grabbed some of them in his hand. He added a few more, thought about it and subtracted a few more. After a while he added and subtracted a few more. About 300 people. Got it. Sigh. It seems that they don't count. Zhang Xiaobao estimated the number of copper coins that he caught. There were more than 300 copper coins. As for the number of copper coins that this person added and subtracted, it was not important. Wang Wan said a few words to this person. This person smiled and stood up. Wang Wan grabbed 6 jin of copper coins and stuffed it into this person's hand. After she made a gesture, this person happily kept it and put it in his arms. Along with the sound of the door, the doctor stood at the door and said to Zhang Zhong, "Master, he is fine now. These few days, give him 3 doses of medicine every day. After changing the medicine twice, he will recover." Zhang Zhong nodded, "Thank you, Dr. Feng. Go and rest." Dr. Feng was really tired, so he didn't say anything. He nodded to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan with a smile and walked out. Zhang Zhong led the 6 people, Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan, into the room. A person was lying on the bed. He was a little weak, but he was awake. When he saw Zhang Zhong come in, he immediately turned over and bowed to him. Zhang Zhong caught up with him, supported him and said, "How do you feel? Where do you feel uncomfortable? I will find another doctor to come and take a look. These are your 6 clansmen. They have been waiting outside." At this time the 6 people also came over and said to the person. The person was about to turn over and get down again. His eyes were red as he said, "Sir, you are also waiting outside. Sir, I am just a mountain villager. I don't deserve you. You also helped to take care of the 6 of them. Sir, you are a great benefactor to my clan." "What mountain people? Since I am an official here, then they are all citizens under my rule. 6 young men, it makes me happy to see them. Recuperate well, and when you can move again in a few days, let the 6 of them carry the gifts that this official has bestowed upon you and carry you back. I heard that you have a child who is about to be born, so you must take good care of him. Having a new life is a good sign. When my son Xiaobao was born, my family was overjoyed. Since then, our lives have been getting better and better. It's the same for you. Since I'm here, I can't just watch you suffer." Zhang Zhong put down his pride and chatted with the person. He even pulled Zhang Xiaobao in front of him to let the person see. Zhang Xiaobao naturally knew what to say. He called him uncle and smiled innocently. Zhang Zhong said this, but in his heart he thought, "Your child can't be compared to my son and daughter-in-law. There is nothing they can't do." Chapter 427. Hearing the words of the injured aboriginals, Zhang Zhong felt a little uncomfortable. He felt that he had deceived these so-called barbarians who appeared ferocious but were actually kind inside. They appeared to be barbaric but were actually filled with yearning for life. Zhang Zhong's expression changed. Zhang Xiaobao, who was proficient in many kinds of psychology, immediately understood what was going on. He quickly said, "Father, I still don't know this uncle's name. When he has a child, I'll ask him to send her here. Then I'll have a younger brother or sister." Hearing his son's words, Zhang Zhong also recovered. He personally looked at the bandaged area and said to the villager, "You have to be obedient. You are all people under my rule. If you don't listen to me, how can I let everyone live a good life? How should I address you?" "Sir, my name is Nashu." "Sir, can you really let everyone live a good life? You won't bully us, villager?" It was the first time the injured villager had seen such a high-ranking official. He could not imagine how big the official was. After all, it was a very big place. Everyone had to listen to this person. In the past, he was disgusted with the authorities and hostile to the people here because he came down the mountain to do work and beg for food when he was young. The people here did not treat him well. He learned the language here and became an important person for the people here to interact with the people here. On the mountain, his position was second only to the chief. This time he came down and was injured. He did not expect to benefit from this disaster. The small official bullied people, but the big official was so kind. He unknowingly approved of Zhang Zhong's ruling position. Zhang Zhong put on a straight face. "Nashu, right? In the future, I don't want to hear the name villager. In my opinion, we are all the same. You just live on the mountain. How can you send Shui Yu to the state? When will the child be born? If it's too late, I'll send people to send the things needed. When the child is born, if it's a boy, I'll take him as my adopted son. If it's a girl, I'll take her as my adopted daughter. She can come down the mountain and live in the state capital. I'll give you land. If you don't come down the mountain, I'll send people up to teach the adopted son or daughter. My son Xiao Bao and daughter-in-law Cuckoo will have a younger brother or sister." The tree knew a lot of things. After hearing Zhang Zhong's words, it couldn't continue to lie there. It suddenly sat up and looked at Zhang Zhong. It swallowed a few mouthfuls of saliva and spoke with a trembling voice, "Your Excellency, you really want to adopt my child? But, when I look at you, I can guess that the child in the future will be very likable. Xiao Bao and Cuckoo play together, but they don't have a companion. In the future, when they have a younger child, the two of them will have one more person to play with. Xiao Bao, have people prepare 100 bolts of silk, 100,000 coins, 20 kilograms of honey, 10 bolts of silk, and 1 bolt of cotton cloth used by the family. Send 100 frozen pork knuckles first, 20 jars of wine, and 10 kilograms of Longjing tea. As for the rest of the grain and oil, you can do as you see fit." Zhang Zhong praised Nashu and ordered his son to prepare the things. Zhang Xiaobao agreed and left. Wang Wan stepped forward and said, "Actually, Xiaobao and I want to have a younger sister. Uncle, if you have a younger sister, send her to me as soon as possible. I will play with her and teach her to read and write." Wang Wan was afraid that others would prefer boys over girls. She had experienced it herself. The reason why she was thrown into the Zhang family was because she was a girl. But now no one would look down on her. What made her happy was that Zhang Zhong, her future father-in-law, had never looked down on her. Perhaps it was because of her relationship with her future mother-in-law that she married Zhang Zhong, so Zhang Zhong did not dare to look down on her. At this time, she deliberately said that she liked a younger sister. If she really gave birth to a girl, Nashu would not look down on her. Nashu looked at the little girl in front of him as if he had eaten a calming pill. Thinking back to the things that Rinpoche said to give, he felt a burst of excitement. He finally felt the ability of a high-ranking official. He gave so many things that he did not even dare to think about, but he did not hesitate at all. "Darren, isn't it a little too much for you to recognize a son or daughter?" Nashu did not dare to accept the gifts. "What do you mean by a lot of things for you to recognize a son or daughter? Those are not things for your son or daughter when you recognize a son or daughter. They are things for your wife to nurse her body. How can this official recognize a son or daughter so simply? That will weaken the reputation of my Zhang family. Have you seen the boats at the docks? At that time, regardless of whether they are male or female, I will give them a boat first. The rest can be discussed later." Zhang Zhong wanted to make a good show. He wanted to let all the people on the mountain know how the provincial governor would treat them. Nashu was so frightened that he began to tremble. No matter what, the gifts he mentioned earlier were only for his woman to use. His child was not even born yet. Rinpoche was going to give him a boat when his child was born. He had seen the boat before he fainted. It was because of the heavy rain that he could still see the boat. He knew how big the boat was. Even if he sold his entire clan, he would not be able to buy that boat. Yet, he was going to give it away just like that? He did not care about other things. His child was not a child. She was clearly a treasure. When Zhang Zhong saw that Nashu was too agitated, he helped him lie down again. He advised, "Brother Nashu, there's no need to worry. You'll know in the future that my family is not short of money. Even the combined wealth of the entire Luzhou can't compare to my family. My family is in the north of the capital. When you have the chance, you can bring your brothers and clansmen there to have a look. You'll truly feel at home when you're there. If you have a daughter, when she's slightly older, she can learn something here. If you have a son, your clansmen can move here. When the time comes, I can even let the son be an official. Darren, if it's a boy, you want to let him be an official? Then what about your Xiaobao? Na Shu panted heavily. He felt that he could not bear the good things happening one after another. When he thought of letting the son be an official, he began to worry about the other Xiaobao. Zhang Zhong smiled. I'm a 4th grade official. I'll be promoted to a higher position in the future. How can I let the son be an official? Even if I can only let one son be an official, I'll let my adopted son keep it. My son Xiaobao doesn't need my help. If Xiaobao becomes a general in the future, he'll be able to travel 1,000 miles. If he becomes a businessman, his fortune will be comparable to that of a country. If he becomes an official, then the corrupt officials of Great Tang can only wait for bad luck. Zhang Zhong felt that he was telling the truth. However, he realized that others might not believe him after he said it out loud. At this moment, Na Shu had no time to distinguish between the truth and the lies. At least, he knew that this new official's family was not ordinary. When he thought of this, he told Zhang Zhong about the matter that the 2 people from the inner court had mentioned. Zhang Zhong's smile did not change. Brother Na Shu, to be honest, I haven't considered this matter. They said it themselves. So those things are all. It's all true. As long as they say it, the Zhang family will admit it. If they make a promise to something that didn't happen, then it's the promise of the Zhang family. Brother Na Shu, you can rest assured. Zhang Zhong said seriously. Na Shu rubbed his temples vigorously. He really couldn't understand what was going on with this high-ranking official. The words he said and the things he did were incomprehensible. The first feeling he had was that he was rich, a lot of money. The second feeling he had was that he was kind, not only to mountain people like him but also to his subordinates. A servant could make a promise on behalf of the master, and the master even admitted it. Na Shu did not think that such a high-ranking official would waste time to fool him. He could only choose to believe it. He would know when the time came. When the other 6 hill dwellers saw that this high-ranking member of their tribe was so agitated, they asked anxiously. Na Shu also told the 6 of them what he had told Zhang Zhong just now. After they finished, Zhang Zhong looked directly at his daughter-in-law. Wang Wan nodded and gave an affirmative expression. Zhang Zhong was relieved. At the same time, he felt an indescribable sense of pride. His son and daughter-in-law each had their own strengths. When the 2 children were together, all difficulties were no longer a problem. Wang Wan then asked Na Shu, Uncle Na, is your surname Na? I gave this surname myself. There is no surname in the tribe. We don't even have a name. When the child is born, we just give him a name. Look at him, he's called Na Tuesday. He followed my surname. Even though Na Shu was wary of outsiders, he could not face Wang Wan's pure eyes, cute smile and sweet voice. He answered all the questions and pointed to one of the 6 people and explained to Wang Wan with a smile. Wang Wan pretended to look at that person curiously and asked, Uncle Na, don't you Zhuang people have a written language? Why don't you have a name? Zhuang people. What kind of tribe is Zhuang people? There is no written language. They can't even remember numbers. They don't want to go down the mountain because they are too different from the people here. They are afraid of being cheated. Na Shu was also confused. He had never heard of anything about the Zhuang people. This time Wang Wan didn't say anything. She took a step back because she saw from the corner of her eye that Zhang Zhong was about to speak. Zhang Zhong sighed at his son and daughter-in-law's eyesight. He said to Na Shu, I've thought about what brother Na Shu said. In the future, I will ask people to teach the people in the mountains some knowledge. Arithmetic and literacy are the simplest things. It's just that there is a language barrier. Brother Na Shu, you have to help them. By then, all the people in the mountains will be able to read and calculate. They won't have to worry about being cheated in the future. It will be convenient for them to live or do business at the foot of the mountain. What do you think, brother Na Shu? Really? If someone comes to teach, our tribe will give them the best food and the best house. Na Shu said happily. It's true. But we can't send people over yet. My daughter-in-law is too young. We have to ask people to come down from the mountain. Cuckoo talked to Uncle Na Shu. As soon as Zhang Zhong finished speaking, Wang Wan immediately spoke to Na Shu in the dialect that she was familiar with. Chapter 428. Zhang Zhong was shocked. Didn't his daughter-in-law just say a few words in a dialect? This person's reaction was too big, wasn't it? Cuckoo, what did you say to him? Zhang Zhong was puzzled. What did his daughter-in-law say to scare him like this? He didn't say much. He just said that there's going to be a flood and asked the people in the mountains to come down and hide. Even if they get washed away by the water, there's a boat that can take them to a higher place. If the mountain collapses, it's over, Wang Wan explained. How did you know that there's going to be a flood? Zhang Zhong's heart tightened. He could not believe what others said, but if it was his son and daughter-in-law, he had to believe it even if he did not understand. Even if his daughter-in-law said that the moon would fall tomorrow, he would still organize people to move, let alone a flood. Wang Wan saw Zhang Zhong's worry and said a little embarrassedly, "Father, it wasn't me who said it. It was Grandpa Zhang. Grandpa Zhang is Zhang Jiuling's butler. He's very good at martial arts and forced Xiaobao to use methods that he shouldn't have used. Only then did he force him to retreat. He used to be a guard and even knows how to raise pigeons. Xiaobao is still suffering." Xiaobao is injured? Why didn't I see it? He didn't say anything? Zhang Zhong forgot about everything else and only thought about his son. What's there to say? It's just sore and painful. Just bear with it. I'll give him a good massage before he goes to bed tonight. Wang Wan knew the pain, but she knew what kind of person Zhang Xiaobao was. He did not care about this little bit of pain. Then Cuckoo, you'll have to take care of him tonight. Do you know when he's going to have a flood? Zhang Zhong did not know what his daughter-in-law meant by using methods that he shouldn't have used. He thought that it was a demon or a celestial's method. Otherwise, how could two people force a former guard to retreat? He knew that his son could endure the pain. Presumably, the two of them had their own ways of dealing with it. The thing that worried him the most was the flood. He had heard of Zhang Jiuling before, but he didn't expect that his family would be here. It wasn't easy for the state's middle school to improve. If it was washed away by the flood, everything would be gone. This was especially true for the crops planted here. It was almost time to harvest and they could continue to plant crops. They could harvest twice or thrice in a year. It all depended on what they wanted to plant. If the rice that they had prepared at home were to be washed away by the water, there would be a shortage of food for this season. Wang Wan was also a little worried about the flood. It would delay a lot of progress, but she was not afraid. She still had a few days to prepare. The loss of property was a small matter. It was fine as long as the people were fine. Dad, there are still about 5 days left. Grandpa Zhang didn't calculate it himself, but some old people here said it. Some said it would be 7 days later and some said it would be 5 days later. Many old people said so we have to believe it. At least 5 days, at most 7 days. Wang Wan summarized what the old man said when they left and said to Zhang Zhong, "Dad, everything has been arranged. But when I came here just now, I heard that the river that we prepared to drain water from the artesian well has risen a lot. Hurry up and arrange for the disaster relief. This time we are really going to lose money. Some of the money that we borrowed was used to buy the shops. We can't let the people who damaged the houses bear the cost of the flood." Zhang Xiaobao came back at this time. He was in a bad mood. He calculated and calculated, but in the end he could not calculate a natural disaster. That tree who was standing at the side heard everything the three of them said. When he heard that it was a flood, he immediately became anxious. The tribe would be flooded once every year. No matter how they changed the location, it was useless. When the flood came, it would not go back to the original location. Zhang Zhong was also worried. When he saw that tree looking at him, he said to him, "Brother tree, don't worry. Send people back immediately. Don't bring anything with you, just some food and water. It should take less than 6 days. Go back and ask people to cut trees and make rafts. When the water is big, they can come down." That tree had no other choice. He could only say a few words to 2 of the 6 people who were faster. The 2 people turned around and were ready to run out, but they were stopped by Zhang Xiaobao. His movement was very simple. He was 1.2 meters tall. He jumped up from the ground and jumped 1.2 meters in the air. He flew 2 feet in a row and the 2 people had to retreat. "What's the hurry? Take the things with you before you go." Wang Wan rushed to the door. Zhang Xiaobao was half a body's height. Wang Wan happened to stand beside Zhang Xiaobao and said to the 2 anxious people. Only then did the 2 people realize who they had offended. They knelt down and kowtowed. "Get up. Get ready immediately. Remember to go back quickly. Even if you die, you have to spread the news." Wang Wan said to the 2 people again. She ran out with Zhang Xiaobao to arrange food and water. This was simple. They just had to find a guard. They had things that they always prepared. The 4 slow people and the injured tree were left in the house. They anxiously waited for news from the other side. It would take at least 10 days. Zhang Zhong had no time to chat. He said a few words and left in a hurry. The notice was written in the blink of an eye. He asked people to hold umbrellas and read it loudly in the provincial government for the people to hear. The content was to let the people be prepared to leave at any time. The small boats on the 18 big boats were all lowered. The guards of the prince's mansion and the strong people in the inner courtyard all went out to cut trees. The people followed suit. The construction of the docks stopped. People evacuated and made rafts. The things in the houses that should be moved were moved to welcome the arrival of the flood. The honesty of the provincial government was different from before. The people did not doubt. Some families who knew how to read the weather responded positively. In the midst of the busy work, Fan Jianxi and the other 3 people were secretly laughing. They hoped that the water would be bigger and stronger. They hoped that all the houses would be washed away. Even the houses behind the unfinished provincial government would be washed away. Zhang Xiaobao held his chin with his hands. He looked outside at the rain that showed no signs of stopping. He blinked and said, "The sky is falling. Okay, don't memorize these things. It's not easy for you to learn. Keep them. Think of a way to reduce the loss." Wang Wan crossed her arms. She heard Zhang Xiaobao mumbling and nudged him. Zhang Xiaobao stopped. He looked at Wang Wan and asked, "Do you want fame or money?" "I can't make up my mind now." "What fame and money? The flood is coming. It's terrible. Fame and money are too far away. Think about how to save the lives of the people in the province." Wang Wan was worried about the coming flood. In this kind of situation, some experienced people were more accurate than the weather forecast. After checking the weather, they could say when the flood would come. Zhang Xiaobao pinched his thigh hard and said, "I'll listen to you. If you want lives, prepare to take other people's lives and let them come over to develop. This move is a little immoral, but we have to make up for the loss of our side in the flood, and it's also a good thing to save people. It's a pity that there are not enough boats. If I had known it would be like this, I wouldn't have let the cooks and workers go back so early. I'll let them stay for a few more days. Now start to collect the ropes. Be quick." Wang Wan was stunned. She looked at Zhang Xiaobao and asked, "Comrade Xiaobao, you don't want to calculate when the flood is coming, do you? You just watch those people be drowned by the flood? You just watch the children cry alone? How can you do this? You want to make money from the national disaster? How did your grandfather, the dean, get you promoted in the first place?" Wang Wan was really angry. Usually she would accept Zhang Xiaobao's calculations. However, at this time, based on Zhang Xiaobao's words, he wanted to make up for the loss. He wanted both money and fame. Zhang Xiaobao chuckled and said, "It's a misunderstanding. How can I forget that scene? I was thinking whether I should ask them for money after saving them or treat them well to gain a good reputation. When you said that, I made up my mind. We need people. Luzhou's population is too small." "What do you mean? I don't understand." Wang Wan was still angry. "Nothing much. It's just that this rain is not normal. When I went to arrange according to my father's instructions, I heard someone say that they had picked up a few big fish in the county. They fell quite heavily. Why do you think the fish fell? Could it be that they found it too lonely in the water and flew into the sky?" Zhang Xiaobao narrowed his eyes and said. Wang Wan paused for a moment before she asked tentatively, "Could it be a typhoon? Isn't this the wrong season?" "A typhoon is coming. What's the right season? Let's go and make arrangements. We'll save more people. To be honest, I hope that everyone will be safe. However, this is only a wish. Let's do our best." As Zhang Xiaobao spoke, he pulled Wang Wan and rushed out without opening an umbrella. 15 minutes later, a new announcement was made in the provincial capital. The servants were also shouting in various places, asking the people to demolish their houses and pack up their belongings, especially those with roof beams. They were to unload the logs and use strong ropes to make wooden rafts. They did not want the other miscellaneous items in their houses. If they could be packed, they could be put on the wooden rafts and get people to prepare more ropes. The fast horses could only spread the news in Wulei County and Yushan County. The 2 counties further away could not do anything. Although they had sent people there to make preparations, they did not have time to demolish their houses. Everything was prepared. The entire province was under martial law. The 2 counties further away might not be able to do it, but the 2 counties here had no problems. At the same time, the matter of loans was also announced. All loans would be waived. All goods that had been paid for in advance would be given away for free. After all, nothing would be left behind in the end. The Zhang family would bear this loss alone. The people also understood that this matter was serious. The new good official gave up so much money directly. He was definitely not lying to them. The people in the two counties began to demolish their houses according to the announcement. They tied up the wooden rafts one by one and took their belongings with them. They waited for the good official to make the next arrangements. At this time there were still some people who were in a hurry. Along the way they met people on fast horses who came to announce the announcement. When the horses reached dangerous places they could not run. The people on the horses could only give up on the horses and run to the two counties on foot. Do you want to live? If you want to, follow me and run quickly. When you reach the provincial capital, help organize. If you do well, maybe Governor Zhang will spare you this time. Chapter 429. On the second day, most of the houses in Ulay County had been demolished. The people who had lost their homes did not complain about the good officials at all. They just waited for the good officials to make arrangements for them. All the tents on the ship were taken out. There were also temporary sheds. They moved slowly towards the seaside. The people followed the tents and sheds. Occasionally, there would be some hidden bad guys who wanted to cause trouble. When they were discovered, they would be killed immediately regardless of whether they were guilty or not. The rain was still falling. The people from the Zhang family's inner court had already spread out and went to various places to buy things, especially Qinzhou, which was the closest to them. They used money to pave the way and bought a large amount of herbs, food and cloth back at a price several times higher. It was also raining heavily in Qin province. It was the same for the neighboring provinces as well. Occasionally there would be people who would pick up the falling fish. In some places the houses were blown away by the wind. In this era where information was not up to date, all of this had been forgotten. The 4 judges who wanted to leave had no choice but to stay because of the state of martial law. They didn't intend to listen to the notice, but the house was still demolished. The 4 of them took the deed and wanted to go to Zhang Zhong to argue, but they couldn't even meet with him in person. According to Zhang Xiaobao's words, in this era of power, what could you do if your house was demolished? A place that was constantly promoting the rule of law could be demolished just like that. Moreover, the nature was different. This was not for personal gain. If it was not demolished, it would be flooded in the end. It was a pure waste. The rain these 2 days was too heavy. Some old people said that they had encountered it before. The Dragon King was angry. They had encountered it once a few decades ago. At that time the people here ran to the mountains. Although they were not flooded, the mountains collapsed and many people died. Zhang Xiaobao was ready to take a gamble. At most he would just spend money. Why would he need so much money? If he could not keep his father's position, who would be able to keep his money? Go on with all your might. Zhang Zhong, this time you will lose tens of thousands of strings of money. Isn't his family rich? Let's see if his heart aches or not. Let's see if it's bigger. Even though Lu Shaoqing's house had been torn down, he was still with his family. The servants had made a wooden raft and a shed. His family and the other 3 families had gathered together. The 4 judges were eating and drinking under a shed. When they saw the heavy rain and found out that the Zhang family had given up on all their loans and goods, they were all as happy as if they were celebrating the new year. Chao Hurue took a sip of the warm wine and said with an undisguised smile, "This time not only did the Zhang family lose money, but Zhang Zhong's position is also in danger. Such a big disaster, if the emperor knows about it, he will report it to the heavens and punish himself. How can the officials under him think about it?" You can't say that. Some people said that the Zhang family scattered and went to different places to buy things. If they buy enough things and reduce the loss, maybe the emperor will consider it. Jiang Huanshe was also happy, but she was a bit worried that Zhang Zhong could escape this time. Fan Jianxi, who had been silent all this time, said, "The Zhang family is rich. If they can buy things, the price will not be low. I know this. Recently they bought the most things in Qinzhou. The price is 5 times higher than usual. So what if they buy things? The house is gone. Will the Zhang family repair it? I don't believe that the Zhang family is so rich that they dare to repair the house for more than 7,000 people in Qinzhou." The 4 people talked and from time to time there was laughter. This news quickly spread to Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan. After Wang Wan heard, she curled her lips and said, "In the beginning, we left them alone to deal with them slowly because we thought they had some ability. I didn't expect them to be so bad. When real politicians are in conflict with each other, They will not gloat when the people are suffering. They don't even understand what politics is. Yes, we can make use of them, but we definitely shouldn't be so happy. If I were them, I would look for my father and tell him about this matter. Conflicts are conflicts, but when facing external forces, we have to compromise. They've already broken the jar. After this matter is over, we'll deal with them. Zhang Xiaobao was also very angry. If this kind of thing happened in the current imperial court, they would find a way to deal with it even if it was a conflict. The imperial court in the past was not too bad. There were not many parties fighting. Even if there were, they would not use the people as a bargaining chip. After all, they were still influenced by some ideas of governance. After hearing Zhang Xiaobao's words, Wang Wan said, "Xiaobao, I can't wait. I want to deal with them as soon as possible." Zhang Xiaobao first thought about the typhoon and the flood, and then his hand touched his face. Wang Wan was relieved after seeing this. She knew that the 4 judges were going to be unlucky. If Zhang Xiaobao was good at making money in construction, then he could be said to be a top figure in calculating people. Continue to move to the seaside. Start making food in large quantities. Don't extinguish the fire. As long as the fire is big enough, wet firewood can still be burned. It's just that there will be more smoke. There's also a reserve of fresh water. Boil it all into water and put in some salt. Zhang Xiaobao thought for a while and stopped. He walked to the door and gave orders to the person who was there to deliver the news. The series of things Zhang Zhong did a few days ago were reported. Under his orders, basically all the people obediently followed and did whatever they were told to do. Even if they did not understand at the moment, no one objected. All the troublemakers were dealt with. Pancakes were baked one after another, steamed buns were steamed one after another, and pots of water were boiled and filled into water bags. While the commoners were working, they were also moving towards the seaside. There were only 8 ships left out of the 18 that were on the seaside. These 8 ships were enough to squeeze in a few thousand commoners. See, this is the strength of the government. As long as the government officials are capable, they will definitely not be afraid of disasters other than earthquakes. Wang Wan said with her chest puffed out. Zhang Xiaobao pursed his lips and said, "This is the responsibility that we dare to bear, okay? What strength of the government? My father has the final say in Lu Zhou's government. There's no secretary or army to make trouble. Of course, it's up to him to say what he wants. Which government official is willing to throw in the money of his family like we are doing?" When Wang Wan saw that the people were doing things smoothly, she relaxed and began to argue with Zhang Xiaobao. "Isn't it because we have to keep our position? Whether we keep our position or not, at least our family is really taking money out. You can say that we are pretending. Who can say that we are pretending for the rest of our lives? Well, I still have to ask someone to find some dry wood and a big fish net. Then let the flood wash them away. The grains that were originally planted here are also gone. After the flood, I will transfer 100,000 strings of coins here and start all over again. It will be more convenient to plan." Zhang Xiaobao also made up his mind. Since they could not keep their position, they would start all over again. It was fine as long as the people were fine. It was just money. Not to mention that the Zhang family could withdraw enough money now. Even if they could not for the time being, they could go to the capital and ask for cooperation. Countless rich merchants would be willing to join them. Wang Wan knew that Zhang Xiaobao was encouraging her and using this spirit to influence others, but she still felt reluctant. She ordered a person next to her, "Pick out the strong people who have nothing to do and help me harvest the rice here. Get as much as you can." "Yes." The person from the inner courtyard responded. After finding someone to make the arrangements, he came back and asked Wang Wan, "Miss, your order just now seemed to be useless. According to the rules, the orders of the young miss and young master must be unconditionally carried out. But after carrying out the orders, you can ask, 'Miss, what do you mean?' Nothing. If we don't eat the people, we can use it to feed the pigs, poultry, and fish. It's better than throwing it away. If we can reduce the losses, then reduce the losses. Those seedlings are not harvested yet. The bottom is green and can be used to make fodder. Do you understand now? Don't be too excited and busy because now is the time to distribute water. You have to deal with things without any emotions. This is planning. Busy but not chaotic, anxious but not angry." Wang Wan was quite satisfied with this person. He would carry out what needed to be carried out and ask if he did not understand. The people from the inner courtyard should be like this. After the person heard this, he thanked, "Thank you, young miss. Young master, can you tell me why you want the people to make so many wooden rafts? We don't need so many at all. Just 1/3 is enough for the people to live. We still have the boats, so we don't even need 1/5. When Zhang Xiaobao saw the person from the inner courtyard asking him, he looked at the rice seedlings on this person's chest. There were 4 circles. He thought for a while and said, I shouldn't let you know. You are only a 4-star. Let me remind you. Our family has lost a lot of money this time. Do you think we should earn it back? Yes, we definitely have to earn it back. This kind of loss is too sullen. The heavens insist on messing things up, but this little one believes that the young master and young lady are even more powerful than the heavens, the person from the 4-star inner courtyard replied. He was not deliberately flattering them, as he also thought so in his heart. That's natural. How can my family look at the losses and do nothing? Then let me ask you, can we earn back that money from the people in our prefecture? Zhang Xiaobao wanted to give the person from the inner courtyard a strong impression. No, could it be that we have to earn the money of the people in other places? The person guessed. Something like that. Think further. Think carefully. Once you understand, you can be promoted to 5 stars. Don't just think about this and delay the proper business. In the end, Zhang Xiaobao did not tell this person why, and this person did not ask any more. He knew that the first 4 stars only needed to make contributions or be outstanding during the examination. However, it was not so easy to be promoted to the 5th star. A 5-star inner courtyard person could be sent out to take charge. This could only be thought about by himself. The people of the 2 counties were busy. Not only did they have to take care of themselves, but they also had to wait for the people of the other 2 counties to come and help. Chapter 430. 5 days passed in the blink of an eye. Water began to flood everywhere. A few provinces were almost completely covered by the ocean. Even if there were mountains, it was useless. Those who hid in the mountains did not have to worry about being washed away by the water. However, the mountains would slide. No matter how much vegetation there was on the mountains, as long as the soil was saturated, something would happen. The valleys in the mountains were also filled with water. The heavy rain was still falling. From time to time, people would float by with a board. Qin province was flooded, Sumaozhou was flooded, Lian province was flooded, Shaanxi province was not far away, and Feng province was also in the area where the heavy rain fell. The typhoon landed on Luzhou. The people who had long been prepared moved to the valleys. The big ships were also far away. Only one ship was slightly slower and was stranded. The typhoon circled around Luzhou's bay and gradually dissipated. An old man who knew how to look at the sky told Zhang Zhong that it was just one dragon. There were no other dragons. Zhang Zhong did not care about the dragons anymore. He sent out countless small boats to pick up the people who floated over from the other 2 counties and the neighboring provinces. The people who lived by the sea might not be good in other aspects, but they had absolutely no problem in swimming. Those who went to the sea to catch big fish and those who lived near the sea all knew how to swim. Children of 4 or 5 years old dared to dive into the water to find things. All of them knew what to do when the flood came. Even those who were good at swimming did not swim on their own. Usually they would find something floating and hold on to it. Ninghai and Huaqing counties had been notified. They made their own wooden rafts and put their belongings on them. However, they did not tear down their houses or prepare so many ropes. When the flood came, families paddled the rafts toward the state capital. This was their only hope. Father, mother, can our family still survive? Why don't we go up the mountain? It's higher there. The further we go, the lower it gets. A little boy of 8 or 9 years old was holding his 3-year-old sister in his arms. He wiped the rain off his face and held a big leaf in one hand to block the rain for his sister. He said to his parents who were paddling with all their might, Luo Luo, people died on the mountain too. What if we go up the mountain and come down later? What if the new good official doesn't recognize us? Carry Bei Bei, we're going to find the official. The father used all his strength to row the wooden raft, enduring the onslaught of the rain. His son said. The mother also helped to row, crying as she rowed. Her home was gone and her land was gone. She didn't know how she was going to live the rest of her life. The only thing she was thankful for was that the high-ranking official had sent the news early and returned the wooden raft. Her family was fine. The little boy nodded as if he understood and said to his 3-year-old sister, Bei Bei, we'll have something good to eat in a while. The little girl who was 3 years old could not understand the pain of the adults. She reached out to touch the leaf that was blocking the rain and called out happily. After a while, the little girl was no longer so excited. She pursed her lips and said that she was hungry. The boy took a bite of a steamed bun, chewed it in his mouth, spat it out and put it into the girl's mouth. Be good, baby. Eat quickly. You won't be hungry after eating. When we get there we'll have hot soup to drink. The girl ate half a steamed bun and was finally full. She curled up in her brother's arms and fell asleep. The boy thought for a while and put away the other half of the steamed bun. The family had brought food this time, but it was all raw. There were only a few dry steamed buns. It was better to leave them for his sister. He could eat the raw ones. The family of 4 sat on the wooden raft and floated in the direction of the state capital. As they floated, a large tree that had been washed down slanted and crashed into them. The couple tried to avoid it. In the end, they dodged the tree above the surface of the water, but the branches under the water hit the side of the wooden raft. With a cracking sound, the hemp rope tied to the wooden raft could no longer withstand such a large force. 3 of the ropes snapped in succession. Husband, you take Luo and go. I'll carry Bei and follow behind. When the woman saw that the wooden raft had cracked, she shouted at her husband and was about to carry the little girl. The man was good at swimming and so was Luo. If something happened to the family they would have to leave behind descendants. The boy was their descendant. The woman was already prepared to give up. I can't leave my sister behind. I know how to tread water. Mother, the 3 of us will take turns treading water and carrying the wooden raft. We can't leave our sister behind, but we can't be without our mother. The boy immediately understood what his mother meant. He hugged his sister tightly and refused to hand her over no matter what. Luo, it's useless. The water is so big. You can't turn around with the wooden raft. You'll be washed into the sea. Follow your father. The 2 of you can cross. The mother was also reluctant, but she had to give up at this time. Don't say any more. Bro. The water hasn't scattered yet. I'll carry her. At this time, the man climbed onto the wooden raft. He used his hand to grab a piece of wood and his leg to clamp another piece of wood so that the wooden raft wouldn't scatter completely. However, every time the water hit, the wood would squeeze against each other, causing the man to feel pain. The woman nodded with tears flowing down her face. She said to the boy, "Put Bei down and row with me. We're almost there." The boy hesitated for a moment. He took off his pants and put his sister on his pants while naked. He then put the leaf on his sister's body. Only then did he pick up his father's wooden raft and row with all his strength on the other side. The wooden raft moved forward for another quarter of an hour. The man's feet and legs were already bleeding from the friction. The fingernail on his left hand was accidentally squeezed by 2 pieces of wood. 3 fingernails fell off and blood seeped out. Just as the woman was about to grab her daughter and jump down in despair, a few black spots suddenly appeared in the water in front of them. The black spots were moving very fast, and at the same time, they were accompanied by splashes of water. While the woman was in a daze, the black spots were already getting closer. When she looked carefully, she found that they were actually 6 people's heads that occasionally popped out of the water and then sank back down. The splashes of water were also caused by the 6 people swimming. The boy also saw it and was stunned. He was a good swimmer and could step on water, but he definitely couldn't swim that fast. The 6 people's movements were almost the same. They seemed to be wearing black clothes and even their heads were covered. Their heads sank and floated for a large distance. When they sank, their heads dove into the water. When they floated, their heads moved left and right. When they didn't encounter waves, their 2 hands alternated in front of them. When they encountered waves, they immediately changed their movements. Their 2 hands should be stretched forward and just happened to pass through the waves. The 6 people swam to the front of the wooden raft. One of them took out a rope from the bag in his arms and said to the person on the wooden raft, "Don't be afraid. We are the new provincial governor. We are the guards of a good official. We have been ordered to provide support everywhere. Get up, don't lie down." As the man spoke, the 6 people surrounded the wooden raft. One of them climbed up and began to tie the wooden raft again. The man was already out of strength. He lay there on his back and kept saying thank you. The woman cried and carried the girl up. The boy looked at the 6 people with admiration. He asked the person who tied the rope, "What happened to you guys just now? How did you swim so fast?" "We were using the most standard freestyle and butterfly swimming. Freestyle swimming is fast and butterfly swimming is easy to pass through the waves. We practiced it regularly. This person was easy to talk to," he explained to the boy while tying the rope. The boy didn't know anything about swimming. He only knew that the 6 people were really not slow. He asked curiously, "You guys are from the Vigorous Sprout Protection Team, right?" I heard that 56 people jumped off a very high ship a few days ago and nothing happened to them. They can swim in the water for a few hours without getting tired. Is this how you guys swim? Boy, you are smart. We are from the Vigorous Sprout Protection Team. When it comes to swimming, other than some local people here, no one can compare to us. Master was afraid that something would happen, so he sent us out. You guys are the 12th wooden raft to be saved. Usually, when we train, we have to learn a few standard swimming postures, but we don't usually do that. Everyone has their own comfortable swimming postures. Today is not the time to show off. We can only use the most standard swimming postures. It takes more effort, but it is the fastest. This person's movements were very fast. In just a few sentences, there was only one wooden raft left. He tied it while talking to the boy. The boy looked at the 6 people with serious faces. He didn't feel scared at all. Instead, he was very calm. The 6 people's cold and handsome expressions made people know that they were very resolute. It seemed that no difficulty could beat them. Big brother, can I join the Vigorous Sprout Protection Team? I want to be like you guys, rushing from so far and so fast to save people. You guys are wearing beautiful clothes. The boy asked with a look of yearning. The person from the protection team tied the wood and buckled it. He smiled at the boy and said, "It's not that easy to enter. First, you have to sign a death contract, then you have to undergo training. That kind of pain is unimaginable. Sometimes you even want to die, but you can't. If you want to enter, you have to learn how to read first. Do you know how to read? Can't read?" The boy shook his head regretfully. He didn't expect that these people were not only good at swimming and looked good, but they were also literate. Then you have to learn well. First, learn how to read and write. Then you can participate in the training. When you are used to the hardship, you will become better. This person encouraged the boy. At the same time, he thought of his own training. He still hadn't finished training. It was not a normal kind of hardship. Then, big brother, are you the people who can bear the hardship the most? This? Compared to those 2 people, we are still far behind. If those 2 people fell into the water at the place just now, there is no need for anyone to save them. They can easily go back. If they are willing, they can stay for a few more days. Their food can be taken care of. This guard thought of the young master and young lady. He was one of the people who accompanied the 2 people into the old man's house. Thinking of the 2 little ancestors' reaction and ruthlessness, he couldn't help but tremble. The boy nodded and didn't say anything. Chapter 27. The wooden raft can also contribute, corrected 5. The man lying on the raft spoke at this time. You are indeed worthy of being a good official's personal guard. You are really good. That small boat in front is yours, right? There is also a person on it holding something and looking around. You guys don't look tired at all after swimming so far. Big brother is right, we are not tired. We are already used to it. This is nothing. Our usual training is much farther than this. Moreover, we have to carry weights. Big brother, don't move, let me take a look at your injuries. The person on the raft came over and said to the man. At this time, the sound of a whistle came from the other side. 1 long, 1 short, 1 long, 2 short. The 5 people around the raft immediately left the raft and swam in another direction. They were still switching between freestyle and butterfly swimming, and they were still as fast as before. Big brother, don't worry about them. We found someone in danger again. Don't worry, they won't die. As long as they are still alive when the people on the boat see them, they can be saved. Even if they drown, they can be saved in time. As the man spoke, he took out things from the small bag at his waist one by one. Finally, he took out a piece of oilcloth and said to the boy, "Come here and help me hold it. Hold it above my hand. Don't hold it blindly. It won't be easy to treat if it gets infected." The bodyguard first took out a needle and wiped the needle with an alcohol swab. He then wiped the place where the needle was to be inserted and gently inserted the needle into the wound. With a push from both sides, he opened up the extravasated blood and squeezed the extravasated blood out. Then he cleaned up the other wounds and bandaged the 3 fingernails that had fallen out. After all these were done, there was only one place left. There was a 2-inch long cut on the calf by the wood. The wound was so deep that the bone could almost be seen. The bodyguard dipped the cotton pad in alcohol and said to the man, "This is my own first aid kit. In order to keep you awake at all times, there is no anesthetic in it. Bear with it and bite it." As he spoke, the guard broke off a piece of wood and stuffed it into the man's mouth for him to bite on. Then he rubbed the cotton wool dipped in alcohol on the wound. Even though the man was biting on the wood, He still cried out, tears flowing down his cheeks. It'll be over soon. What's this wound? You didn't see someone who dislocated his own shoulder and put it back with his own body. That person's expression didn't change at all. He was still attacking when his shoulder was dislocated. What's wrong with rubbing alcohol? I'm going to stitch it up later. Don't make a sound again. I'll treat you as a woman. You're not even a woman. The bodyguard listened to the man's shout and frowned. He carefully rubbed the dirty thing out of the wound and said. He remembered the short battle between the young master and the old man. The young master used the detoxification technique. The body connected to the young lady behind the iron bridge turned 180 degrees and the sound made by the wrist bearing the force. Then he thought about how the two of them could still continue to attack at that time. How much pain did they have to endure? In the end, the two of them didn't have any additional expression at all. They could smile after a little recovery. The man didn't know who the bodyguard was talking about. He didn't expect that the bodyguard would be so respectful to the two children, not only because of their identity, but also because of their strength. But this man was still a man in front of his family. He held on. Even when the bodyguard sealed the needle for him, he didn't make a sound. He bit the piece of wood in his mouth and his face was pale. He held on. After treating the man, the bodyguard didn't stay any longer. He said to the family, "Continue forward. There will be a patrol boat in front to guide you. In less than 3 hours you'll be safe. There are places to eat, drink and sleep. There are also doctors." After saying that, the bodyguard sealed his bag again. His body tilted and he fell into the water with a splash. "Father, the good official is so amazing. The bodyguards can save us. Father, are you still in pain? This time my sister is finally safe." The boy was happy. He paddled and said to his father. The head of the family also breathed a sigh of relief. It was painful. It had always been painful. But he could hold on. There was hope. No matter how painful it was, he was not afraid. He looked at his son with relief and said, "Those people are not ordinary bodyguards. Did you see their bodies in the water? Their chests were above the water. It wasn't done deliberately. They just stepped on the water like that. These people should be the good official's elites. The good official sent them out, so there must be fewer bodyguards around him. It's all our fault. We clearly sent people to tell us, but when we were making the raft, we didn't think about what we would encounter." The boy didn't think too much. When he heard his father say that the good official sent out his elites, he began to worry about the good official. If someone was up to no good, who would protect him? Thinking of this, the boy paddled harder, forcing his mother to paddle harder as well. While paddling, the boy said, "When I get there, I will stand by the good official's side. If anyone dares to hurt him, I will fight to the death." 6 hours was not a long time, but after 4 hours they discovered that the sky was already dark and the rain was still falling. The family of 4 was still rowing with all their might on the wooden raft. Fortunately, from time to time, a boat with a lantern would appear in front of them. When they reached another boat, the family rowed the raft over. The boy asked the people on the boat, "How much more time do we have? I'm so tired." "You'll need more than an hour to paddle. Are you hungry? Come have some hot soup." There was only one person on the boat with a lantern pointing the way. She was looking at the charcoal stove. When she was talking to the boy, her eyes were looking at the man lying on the bed. 3 bowls of pork and ginger congee were served. A hook was released from the boat and hooked onto the raft. 3 bowls, 1 for each of the 2 adults. 1 bowl for each of the 2 children was enough. The 2 adults didn't care. The boy's bowl was given a spoon. "Little sister, it's time to eat." The boy carried his sister over and used the spoon to scoop up some congee. He blew on it for a while and licked it with his tongue. When he felt that it was not hot anymore, he brought it to his sister's mouth. The girl was very calm the whole way. She didn't cry or make a fuss. When she woke up, she opened her eyes and blinked. Now that there was something to eat, she smiled at her brother and put the spoon in her mouth. She took a sip and the spoon was clean. She waved her small arms and said, "It's delicious. Big brother, eat. This little one is very interesting. Come, give this candy to the little one." The person on the boat looked at the brother and sister and took out a piece of candy and put it in the boy's hand. The boy fed his sister a dozen spoons of candy before he started to eat. He put the candy in his sister's mouth. The girl seemed to know how to eat candy. She didn't swallow it but kept it in her mouth. She moved it back and forth between her cheeks. She blinked her big eyes and was curious about everything. She didn't even notice that saliva was flowing out of the corner of her mouth. The wooden raft moved forward again. It was said that it would take more than an hour, but in fact it only took half an hour. The family saw the scenery on the other side. The boy was like his sister. He opened his mouth and let the saliva flow out. After a while, he rubbed his arm and pointed to the other side and said, "That's the state capital? It's full of lanterns." The two parents were also confused. There were countless lanterns in front of them, but that wasn't the most important thing. What made them stunned was that under the illumination of these lanterns, there was actually an endless stretch of flat land made of wooden rafts. There were wooden rafts next to each other and people were walking back and forth on them. These connected wooden rafts moved with the waves, but they definitely wouldn't break. How many wooden rafts were needed to make such a flat land? In the middle of the wooden rafts was a big boat. The boat was also brightly lit. What made the family most shocked was that there were sheds on the wooden rafts. "Father, did we come to the wrong place? How could it be like this? Could it be that this is a piece of land made by the Sea Dragon King?" The boy finally wiped off his saliva and said to his father. The father was indeed dumbfounded. The scene was a bit too big. It made people look like a piece of undulating land. A big flag with cute seedlings painted on it was propped on the big boat. It made people know that this was the new good official's property. Row over there. The good official is indeed not ordinary. He actually made a piece of land here. Alright, don't worry. No matter how big the flood is, it won't be able to break the connected wooden rafts. The father said to his son and daughter-in-law. Finally he was relieved and fainted. "Father, what's wrong?" "Mother, hurry up and row. There will be a doctor when we get there." The boy looked at his father and rowed with all his might. Without waiting for them to row to the place, a patrol boat came over and pulled their wooden raft over. When the wooden raft was connected to the land, the doctor rushed over first and began to treat them. The boy carried his sister and mother and was brought to a stable place. This wooden raft was also connected and repaired by someone, making this piece of land a little bigger. At this time there was no need for Zhang Zhong to appear. There were many people trying to redeem themselves by doing good deeds. Registrar Yin was one of them. When he saw people coming over, he quickly came forward and said to Luo Luo's mother, "Madam, did you come here alone with 2 children? Registrar Yin, you are..." The woman was so scared that she took 2 steps back and looked at the registrar in front of her in disbelief. "You know me? Then you must be from Ninghai County. Don't be afraid. With the provincial governor here, you will have a good life in the future. This time it's just a little water. The governor has already made preparations. Ninghai County, follow me. I will arrange a place for you to rest. Look at this little child. How nice, looking at me without blinking." Registrar Yin didn't dare to show off his power at this time. It would be easy for him to be shot dead. He smiled and said to the family. Chapter 431. Registrar Yin's expression changed. Just as he was about to speak, he didn't expect the boy's mother to help him. She slapped the boy's head and scolded, "Kid, you don't know any better. Why are you telling the truth?" Before the boy could do anything, his sister started crying. She called her brother and reached out her little hands to rub her brother's head. Registrar Yin wanted to jump into the water and suffocate to death, but he knew that as long as he jumped, he would be shot to death by the crossbow in the air. He couldn't get angry and redeem himself. Who asked him to accept 45 strings of coins? He used to think that it was a lot and couldn't earn that much in a few years. But now he regretted it very much. 45 strings of coins was nothing. The provincial governor had already said that the first 100 people who did a good job in the disaster relief this time would be given 100 strings of cash each, provided that the people who had made contributions to atone for their crimes were excluded. People like them had no money at all. They could either do a good job or die. There was no third choice. Those who didn't believe that the provincial governor dared to do this had already been dyed in blood. The remaining people were those who believed that the provincial governor dared to kill their people. When people were killed, there was no trial, no evidence, and no one cared what time it was. It was very simple. You could move the crossbow and say that they were drowned. No one pursued and no one dared to. The girl cried and stopped. Then she giggled and opened her arms. Zhang Zhong, his son and daughter-in-law were walking around. They looked around and happened to see this girl. Zhang Xiaobao liked children. When he saw that this girl was so cute when she cried, he opened his arms and welcomed her. The girl really gave him face. When she saw Zhang Xiaobao, she smiled and also opened her arms to let him hug her. "Aya, you're really heavy. What's your name? How old are you?" Zhang Xiaobao hugged the girl and asked happily. In the end, before the boy and mother could say anything, the girl stretched out 3 fingers and said, "Bebe 3 years old. Brother 8 years old." The first one was referring to herself and the second one was pointing to the boy. This was nothing. At least, Zhang Zhong could accept that his son and daughter-in-law were better than this. But when the girl pointed at Registrarine, she could kill. Batwa. The girl only said one word and pointed at Registrarine. Then she burst into tears. Registrarine was stunned for a moment before he knelt down with a thud. "Little young master, I'm so resentful. I didn't do anything to them. I was laughing the whole time. Young master, don't kill me. I really didn't do anything. I was just picking up the people from our county. I already know that I was wrong. I won't dare to do it again. I only took 45 strings of coins. I really didn't do anything bad. Young master, please spare me." Registrarine was most afraid of Zhang Xiaobao. Zhang Xiaobao was different from other people when he killed people. Other people were either cold, angry, or smiling. Zhang Xiaobao's expression when he killed people was pure and cute. When the deputy magistrate of Huaqing County was killed, it was Zhang Xiaobao who did it personally. That scene was unforgettable for many people. Zhang Xiaobao held a crossbow with great effort and pointed the arrow at one of the deputy magistrate's eyes. He said, "If you feel pain, tell me. It's my first time using it, so it's not very accurate. I'll be fine after practicing more in the future." There wasn't any killing intent in the deputy magistrate's eyes. He was just curious. In the end, the crossbow went in through the deputy magistrate's eyes and came out from the deputy magistrate's temple. The deputy magistrate didn't die. Zhang Xiaobao held another crossbow with great effort and pointed it at the deputy magistrate's other eye. He said innocently, "I moved just now." "It's a lie. This time I won't move. Tell me if you feel pain." In the end, this crossbow also missed. In the end, the deputy magistrate didn't know whether he bled to death or died of pain. Anyway, he didn't die a quick death. Who wouldn't be afraid of such a child? The deputy magistrate's death wasn't unjust at all. He once raped a woman in the county. This time he met her and wanted to do something with her. In the end, the woman didn't agree and he slapped her. With this one slap, everything was revealed. Because of this, Wang Wan was angry with Zhang Xiaobao for a long time. She said that he made the deputy magistrate die too quickly. Zhang Xiaobao sincerely apologized and said that the next time he met the deputy magistrate, it would be difficult for him to die even if he wanted to. In the face of such a person, Registrar Yin would be lying if he said that he wasn't afraid. Zhang Xiaobao smiled innocently. He looked at the trembling Registrar Yin and asked, "Let this little girl give you 2 big slaps, okay? Okay, hit her with all your strength. Thank you, little young master. I will remember your kindness for life." Registrar Yin didn't care about whether it was embarrassing or not. He was overjoyed. Not to mention that the little girl had grown up, even her mother would do. It was better than the little young master doing it himself. Bei hit him. He's a bad guy. Zhang Xiaobao carried Bei in front of Registrar Yin and taught him. Registrar Yin moved his face closer to Bei. "Bad guy, hit." Bei waved her small hands and hit Registrar Yin's head twice. She didn't know how to hit the face at all. She stretched out her hands and smiled at Zhang Zhong, saying, "Hug." Zhang Zhong also liked children. He took Bei over and kissed her hard. Unexpectedly, Bei took the initiative to kiss Zhang Zhong again. She giggled. The surrounding commoners looked at Zhang Zhong with even more respect. Their thoughts were simple. The little girl didn't know anything, but they could tell who was good and who was bad from the little girl's attitude. The little girl's heart was the purest. Zhang Xiaobao and Wang Wan didn't expect Bei to be like this. Zhang Xiaobao was actually more depressed. He said to Wang Wan, "I was hoping to have a little sister called Bei in the future. I'm Xiaobao and she's Wang Wan. Together we're a treasure." There are many people with the same name. You're surnamed Zhang, so is everyone else surnamed Gongchang? I've never seen someone like you. Look, Bei is so cute. Wang Wan didn't agree with Zhang Xiaobao this time. She strongly objected and pointed at Bei for Zhang Xiaobao to see. At this moment, Bei kissed Zhang Zhong again. She pouted and pointed in the direction she came from. It hurts. Daddy hurts." Zhang Xiaobao was stunned. He suspected that Bei was someone who came from another place like him and Wang Wan. However, he felt that it wasn't the case. Unless this person was more powerful than him and Wang Wan, and hid more deeply. What kind of person could she be? Wang Wan also stared at her carefully. In the end she said, "No, she's just born intelligent. She'll gradually forget about it after she's 5 or 6 years old." Why would she gradually forget? Is it because of the development of her brain cells? Zhang Xiaobao suddenly thought of something very important. He still remembered when he was carried to the orphanage. Other people were different from him and would always forget. He could even remember every single one of his brothers and sisters in the orphanage. Wang Wan thought for a moment. She didn't walk in that direction with Zhang Zhong. He was just an injured person. She said to Zhang Xiaobao, "That should be the case, right? According to scientific theory, human cells also undergo metabolism. Then why can a 100-year-old person remember things that happened when she was in her teens? Could it be that she didn't undergo metabolism at this time?" Zhang Xiaobao asked. "What are you trying to say? Theology?" Wang Wan's education made her reject this kind of theory. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head and said, "No, what I want to say is science. In the narrow sense of science, theology will appear, but in the broad sense of science, there is no such thing. We just don't understand. I think the process of searching for the truth is science, not after discovering something." "Then are you searching or discovering?" Wang Wan felt a little cold from Zhang Xiaobao's words. "You and I are both experiencing. We are neither searching nor discovering. Do you think our arrival is science or theology? If it's theology, where is God? If it's science, how can it be explained in the narrow sense of science? The simplest question is, where is the edge of the universe? You don't know, right? But we still exist and are still researching. After researching and researching, one by one, the people who invented the definition have all become religious and believe in God. What does this mean?" Zhang Xiaobao began to analyze things in this world for the first time. Wang Wan was also confused and muttered, "What does this mean? What does this mean? Could it be the existence of God?" Wrong. It shows that our science is not advanced enough. Some people deliberately limited science. What our science couldn't understand back then, some people attributed it to superstition. According to me, there is no materialism, nor is there idealism. There is only selfishness. Or it can be said that materialism should not be separated from idealism. Idealism is also a material. In the process of idealism, there is the transmission of electricity and the metabolism of brain cells. As long as there is this, how can it be idealism? When materialism separated idealism, it was no longer materialistic. Zhang Xiaobao thought deeper and deeper. He put all his attention on this. He really wanted to know how he had come here. At this time Wang Wan said, "Since everything is real, we have to cherish the real things. Since everything is fake, let's treat the dream as reality. At least there's you and me. Whether it's science or superstition, I pinch you and you hurt. In this material world, what should you do now?" Wrong positioning. I don't want to position science and superstition. I want to position why babies don't have a sense of height, just like sleepwalkers. Why babies forget some things when they grow up. Why can babies be preserved for a period of time after leaving the mother's body? Why can a placenta be used as medicine? Why can umbilical cord blood help treat leukemia? What exactly happened to us when we came out of the mother's body? Don't be afraid. What I want to say is that children have a very strong memory before they are sensible. Take vocabulary for example. I don't know how good you are when you learn it. I think I am a genius, but I have to memorize it at least 4 or 5 times before I can remember it. It is even more difficult to correct pronunciation. However, this was not the case for children. For some children, as long as you taught them how to call their mother once, they would be able to remember it. What was taught to the child at the age of 1, when the child grew up, was it because of the infinite repetition or the hidden memory of the child that played a role? I have been thinking about it for a few years. Our joy and fear are more from when we are babies before the age of 6. So I want to set up a baby class, but I don't know if the parents will be willing. Zhang Xiaobao finally said his idea. He wanted to set up a nursery that was different from other places. Do you want to train people who can be used or who can promote the development of science? Actually, I understand what you are saying. Take hypnosis for example. It is a joke to ordinary people, but we live in a hypnotic environment all the time. As long as people's metabolism can't be separated from the chloride ion, they will be affected by the flow of electrons. Put a normal person in a group of mentally ill people and listen to the screams of the mentally ill people every day. Very few people are unaffected. Of course, people like you are an exception. Wang Wan understood what Zhang Xiaobao meant. He wanted to bring out the essence of a baby as much as possible. He didn't want this essence to be deliberately destroyed later on, but to promote his development. Let's start with Huayuan County. I only thought of this when I saw Bei Bei. Bei Bei's mental waves should be greater than ordinary people's, and he should be able to feel everyone's attitude towards him. I feel that it would be a waste to form a system for him, but it would be a pity to give up on him. Zhang Xiaobao was in a tough spot. He was quite proficient in this aspect. The simplest example was when he had personally gone for an interview in the past. He had purposely made the room big. The place where he sat was like the throne of a palace, while the person being interviewed was surrounded by empty space. Especially behind them, when a door was opened, it was actually an open window, and it was at a place above the 10th floor. There were some sophisticated instruments on the chair. Some of the interviewees were afraid, some were empty, some were angry, some were calm, and some even turned around and left. Then you should do as you say, right? You made it so mysterious and scary. Wang Wan actually didn't want to get involved with things that were too realistic. You also feel afraid, right? I actually feel cold all over when I think about it. The more I think about the origin of a person, the more I feel insignificant, especially when it comes to the creation of the universe. Therefore, I decided that in order to not let those 4 people mess with me, I will let them know some things that we can't understand. Zhang Xiaobao didn't mention the child. He talked about the influence of spirit and thinking, and specifically targeted the 4 people. What about the child? Wang Wan asked at this moment. Children are divided into different age groups, and we use building blocks and drawings to cultivate them. It's a pity that technology can't keep up. Find a few people to talk about their own things next to the child and it's all the basics. Where the child is willing to climb to listen, we can analyze according to probability. Zhang Xiaobao looked at the black and white water outside and felt that some things were really hard to grasp. Chapter 432. Zhang Zhong carried Bei Bei in his arms. Since he did not have time to open an umbrella, he could only stuff Bei Bei into his clothes. Then he went to check on Bei Bei's father. This man was usually an honest man, so honest that it made people feel that he was a little cowardly. However, this time he stood up straight. After receiving treatment from the doctor, he ignored his injuries and busied himself with the others to collect the fallen trees. These trees were used to build sheds, and now the sheds were leaking. On the land formed by countless wooden rafts, the people who could not do anything tied themselves to the rafts. The wind and rain did not stop and the waves were surging. With each wave, the land formed by the wooden rafts would rise and fall. There were many ropes that could be used and they were firmly tied. The safety island in the hearts of the people was not broken. From time to time, the boats released would pick up the people who were washed into the water. Those who had their own rafts or boats would point out the way. The people of Luzhou were not the only people who were rescued. The mountain people and the people from other provinces were also rescued. When dawn came, only 200 to 300 people of Luzhou's 7,000 people had not arrived. It was unknown whether they were dead or not. Many mountain people were washed into the water and were also arranged on the land. They were vigilant against the people around them, and they did not refuse the food they were given. When Zhang Xiaobao, who had not slept all night, received the data of the missing people of Luzhou, he closed his eyes in pain. Wang Wan, who was beside him, also had a heavy heart. Although the 2 of them killed without batting an eyelid, they only killed bad people. They could not bear to kill these people. They knew too much about the darkness, and they always wanted to leave a pure land where the people could live like a family. Xiaobao, expand the search area. Maybe some of the people ran to the mountains and maybe some are still floating in the water. The 4 guys who were gloating are also here. What should we do? Wang Wan said as she massaged Zhang Xiaobao's head. After a day and a night, she finally saw the planning and calculation ability of an international swindler. The people of the inner court were sent out to collect information. All kinds of requests and information were reported. Zhang Xiaobao was in charge and he arranged everything just right, no matter how big or small. He was able to take care of everything from the search area of the fleet to the injured and sick people. After arranging the search method, he would occasionally ask if someone's fever had subsided. What method did he use? All he had to do was ask a child whose mouth was injured if he could eat, and everything would be under his control. He would even ask about what the officials were doing to atone for their crimes. All the messy information would be sorted out in front of him. This was what it meant to have no empty seats under a great reputation. Zhang Xiaobao was indeed exhausted. He had not done this for a long time. Even though he knew he was tired, he could not stop. At this time it would be a sin to not use his ability. Perhaps what he saw was just data, but in reality they were living people. One less person would be an unbearable pain for a family. Hearing Wang Wan's suggestion, he nodded and said, "No need. Continue with your work. We'll just need to take a nap for 1.5 hours. Let our 56 people expand the search area. At this time we can only use them. We've trained them for 1,000 days to use them for 1 day. Let's see how their training has turned out. Those 4 people also came? Good. Tell the cook not to give them food. Aren't you just waiting to see a joke? Even if they starve to death, don't let them build a shelter. Let them stay on their own wooden raft." They are not allowed to come close to this land. If they have the ability, they can row elsewhere. Zhang Xiaobao said it casually, but Wang Wan knew that if they did so, it would be equivalent to giving the 4 people and their families a death sentence. The gale had only come once, and it was because of the geography of the bay. There were still other gale after that. If they were not connected, the small wooden raft could be overturned at any time. Wang Wan picked up the whistle and blew it rhythmically. At this time, the sound of the whistle traveled the furthest. Once it was passed down, the 56 people would know the new order. "Xiaobao, are you really going to let the 4 people and their families die? There are still some servants." Wang Wan asked as she squatted on the wooden raft where water flowed out and down from time to time. Zhang Xiaobao shook his head. "Who said we're going to let them die? They still have land and money at home. This time they will connect the wooden rafts by themselves. But food will be a problem. I don't believe that they are as well prepared as we are. When the time comes we will sell them food. Do you think it's expensive to sell a steamed bun for 50 copper coins? It's too cheap. Vegetable steamed buns cost 100 copper coins each, and meat steamed buns cost 300 copper coins each. Let's get them to pay first. When they run out of money we will write a written agreement. They have a salary and land at home. They can slowly pay us back later." Wang Wan did not have any intention of showing mercy. If she did not take this opportunity to teach the 4 people a lesson, they would not know how powerful she was. As for their families, Wang Wan did not think that they were innocent. If their families could persuade them normally, the 4 people would do the same. After receiving the order, the 56 people began to regroup. The original group of 6 or 7 people became a group of 2 people. They rowed the boats and used the clairvoyance to expand the search area. They also did not rest for the whole night. Most of the time they were soaking in the water and did not eat anything. They were always ready to save people. Fortunately, this was part of their daily training, allowing them to work at high efficiency for 24 hours straight. One by one they took out the black poppy ointment from their bags and took a small bite. The reaction was very fast when it entered their stomachs. It did not take long for them to feel that their stomachs were warm and they were energetic. They also knew that this was called overdrafting their physical strength, but they had to do it. Their lives were as heavy as a mountain. Even if they died, they had to complete the mission first. Needless to say, after expanding the search area, they really did find some people in need of help. Some people even climbed up the trees with their whole families. They were shivering from the cold and did not dare to jump into the turbulence. After being rescued and put on the boats, they knelt on the boats and kowtowed to the people who saved them. It was not only the people from Benzhou but also the people from Qingzhou, Shangxizhou and Fengzhou. These places seemed to have experienced the flood earlier. Some people carried logs and floated over. Some people were even able to persevere and swim. The rescue guards were shocked. These people were really good at swimming. On a large log that floated out from the mountains of Qingzhou, a simple and honest-looking man kept talking to the 5 people on the log who had almost lost the confidence to survive. "Don't worry, Zhang Dashan will never be wrong. Don't be fooled by the flood everywhere. If we continue to float forward, we will reach my master's territory. My master is not like the other officials who wait foolishly and do nothing in the face of the flood. My master is definitely prepared. Dashan, don't lie to us. If what you said is true, your master is the provincial governor in Luzhou. He is being bullied miserably now. If you have a master who is the provincial governor, why would you be here? You just bought a shop and you lost all your money, right? Now that the shop is flooded, how are you going to live in the future? If you are washed away by the water, you will be washed into the sea in the end. If we can survive, you can come to my place and be an assistant. I think you are a good person, so you should be good." A man in a Sioux embroidered robe who was sitting on the log said to Zhang Dashan. You like this guy very much. Zhang Dashan shook his head vigorously and said, I am not going to your place. When I find my master, I will ask him what to do. If the shop is gone, then so be it. Look at me, I am carrying a big bag with me. Inside are the things that will keep me alive. Before I came out, I brought 10 smoked chickens for my master. You must be hungry, right? You are lucky. 3 people can eat one and we can eat 2 first. This smoked chicken is not afraid of getting cold. It can be eaten even after it has been watered by the rain. I came here by land on the Zhang family's cargo ship. I wanted to open a shop here, and if I had the chance in the future, I would look for my master and give him some smoked chickens to eat. But as soon as I opened the shop, I was hit by the flood. Now I have to look for my master and ask for his help. I'm so stupid, don't you think? When I find my master, he will give me money to open the shop. I have received a favor from him once, so I am embarrassed. The 5 people on the log didn't believe what Zhang Dashan said at all. It was full of loopholes. But at this time it was really good to listen to it. At least they didn't feel so lonely. Zhang Dashan really took out 2 smoked chickens from the big bag. He first tore off 2 chicken claws, 2 chicken wings, and 1 chicken head. He gave the rest to the 2 people next to him and let them divide it among themselves. The other whole chicken was given to the other 3 people. People who didn't know how to eat would eat the chicken breast and the chicken thigh meat. Zhang Dashan, who dealt with chickens all day, was naturally not so stupid. He tore off the best part of the chicken and kept it for himself. He didn't feel anything when he took a bite. He was used to the taste. But it was the first time for the other 5 people to eat chicken. They had never tasted smoked chicken before, so they ate very quickly. The person who said that he wanted to ask Zhang Dashan to be his shop assistant had an idea and said to Zhang Dashan, Dashan, if you can really survive, I will give you money to open a shop. When the time comes, we will split it 50-50. You tell me the recipe and I will give you 30% of the shares of the branch I open. How about that? I already said that I am not short of money when I come to find my master. I don't even know what the recipe is. I just brought a lot of seasonings and carried them all on my back. Why do I want to open a shop here? I just want to wait until I see my master and get the seasonings from his house. Otherwise, there will be a day when I run out and it will take a lot of effort to go back. Zhang Dashan wasn't lying, but the others didn't believe him. He patted the big bag on his back and emphasized again that he was a person of an organization. As they were talking, a sharp-eyed person suddenly pointed to the front and said, Look, someone is swimming over. Save him. Zhang Dashan also looked over and said happily, What save? He is here to save us. Our Zhang family's most powerful guard is here. Hehe, the master is really powerful. Chapter 433. While the other 5 people still thought that Zhang Dashan was talking nonsense, Zhang Dashan waved at the person swimming over and shouted, Peng, come here and tell me how the master is. I'll give you a chicken. I just smoked it when I came here. I put more salt so it's refreshing. Peng, good job, you swim fast. Seeing the main house's guards, Zhang Dashan was no longer worried. It was as if he had met someone from his hometown on a trip. He talked to them very easily. As expected, the person in the water sped up. When he swam closer, he wiped his face with his hand and glanced at the person on the log. He said to Zhang Dashan, Dashan, who else came with you? Where is he? Can't find him, right? Tell us the place and we'll go and rescue him immediately. It's just me. Come here and hold the log. It's big and can't be heavy. How's the master? Where's the madam? How's the master and madam? Our young master and young lady are doing well, right? Here, this chicken wing is for you. It's salty. I made it like this on purpose. I was afraid that it would float for too long. Zhang Dashan waved his hand and asked Peng to come over. He stuffed a chicken wing into his mouth and asked happily. Peng held the chicken wing in one hand and the log in the other. He ate 2 mouthfuls and praised, Not bad, Dashan. You've trained your skills. It's delicious, even salty. It's been 2 days and 1 night and I've only eaten hardtack. I've been vomiting acid. Finally, I've eaten something decent. How much do you have? Take it all out and share it with the brothers. The master is fine. The young master and young lady are exhausted. They didn't sleep the whole night and only ate hardtack. You'll know when you get there. Why are you here? Do you have water? Give me a sip. I don't want to drink the rainwater in the river. Zhang Dashan took out the water and gave Peng a few sips. He only gave him a chicken claw and didn't give him any more. I still want to let the master taste it. You guys eat hardtack. I don't believe that those hardtack will make you vomit acid. There's meat and vegetables in it and it doesn't lack salt. Does our Luzhou have a lot of water? What do you mean our Luzhou? You're from Sanshui County, okay? The water is huge and everything is washed away. Master has brought the people of the province to build a platform with wooden rafts. It's not bad. Do you want to continue on your own or do you want us to carry you? If you can walk on your own, then walk on your own. In another 2 hours, you will be able to drink the hot soup provided by the temporary supply ship. We still have to continue patrolling. Give me that chicken claw of yours. Now that Pang had something to hold on to, he felt much more relaxed. He extended his hand as he spoke. Zhang Dashan handed over the chicken claw in his hand and said, I told you that my master would definitely be prepared. Sure enough, wherever my master is our home. We will go there ourselves. You continue to save people. There are still people being washed over. All right, let's go. Pang let go of his hand. With a chicken claw in each hand and a chicken wing in his mouth, he walked forward in a relaxed manner. How is it? Did you see that? These are the most powerful bodyguards of our main house, the members of Team Zero of the Vigorous Protection Team. In the water they are just like on the ground. What is this called? Yes, it's like walking on flat ground. Seeing them means that we have entered the coverage area of their patrol, so we don't have to worry anymore. Zhang Dashan only had a chicken wing and a chicken head left in his hand. As he ate them in small bites, he puffed out his chest, looking very proud. It was impossible for the 5 of them not to believe him this time. The way they looked at Zhang Dashan changed. The person who had been waiting for things to settle down to recruit Zhang Dashan also sighed at this time. He already knew that with the power of that official's family, it was impossible for Zhang Dashan to be roped in by others. At this time the old man of the father and daughter pair asked Zhang Dashan, Dashan, you are a farmer. How did you have the money to open a shop? Now that the money is gone, will your master really give you the money? Of course my master is good to us. I borrowed money from him first and I will return it when the time comes. In fact, as long as I can go home, I won't be short of money. We are different from other farmers. We have 40 pigs, more than 300 ducks and 200 chickens, so we don't lack money. Although we are farmers, we live in a 2-story building, and we have dozens of strings of cash at home. Last year's bumper harvest, our family earned a lot. We have people in Zhuangzi who are sick, and we don't need money for treatment. We also have people who make clothes for us. When we earn more money, we will go back and find a wife. When we have children, we will send them to the school in Zhuangzi. When Zhang Dashan talked about Zhuangzi in the main house, he became even more proud. He told the story of his family bit by bit, making people feel that he was not a farmer, but the main house in Zhuangzi. He lived in a 2-story building and raised so many things. His family was not short of money at all. No wonder he was not worried at all about the house that he had just bought being washed away. The old man was satisfied. He held his daughter's hand and said to Zhang Dashan, Dashan, what do you think of my daughter? She said she would be your wife. As long as you are good to my daughter, she will marry you after she settles down. Father, I won't marry, so I will accompany you, the girl said shyly. Her words showed that she did not agree, but her eyes kept glancing at Zhang Dashan. She was very satisfied with this simple and honest man, especially the chicken that had not been eaten yet. It tasted so good. Zhang Dashan looked at the girl and said to the old man, My Zhuangzi is different from other places. If she marries me, she will have to sign a death contract. I don't know if your daughter is willing to study. If she is not, I will not agree no matter what. We farmers need to be literate. Dashan, you can read too? The 5 people were surprised. They did not expect a farmer to be literate. How can I open a shop if I can't read? I can do accounting and I'm not slow. The accounting books I use are taught by the main house. If there is a loan, there is a loan, and if there is a loan, there must be an equal return. It took me a lot of effort to learn, but in the end, I learned it. Zhang Dashan felt that knowing how to do accounting was also a skill. Ordinary girls were not good enough for him. The woman couldn't take her eyes off Zhang Dashan. This man was simple, honest, and knew how to cook delicious smoked chicken. He was literate and his family background was not bad. He even knew how to calculate. His body was strong. Thinking of this, the woman squeezed her father's hand. The old man immediately understood what his daughter meant. She had taken a fancy to him. Unfortunately, he was very capable and had high requirements. He even wanted to sign a death contract. Dashan, no one in my family has ever learned to read. If I give my daughter to you, can you teach her? Why do you have to sign a death contract? The old man did not want to give up such a good son-in-law, so he asked Zhang Dashan. Zhang Dashan smiled honestly and said, I don't need to teach her. There is a special night school in Zhuangzi, and there is an invited teacher to teach her. The death contract must be signed. Otherwise, there are many secrets in Zhuangzi, and if you learn them and tell others, how can you do it without a death contract? The old man did not know what secrets Zhang Dashan had in Zhuangzi, but he could not bear to let his daughter sign a death contract. He hesitated. His daughter next to him did not care about the death contract. She felt that Zhang Dashan was not as flustered as others during the flood. Moreover, he was very casual when talking to the main house's guards, which made her feel very safe. His family was not bad. He could read and do accounting. He was honest and responsible, and the main house was so powerful. If she followed such a person, she would not have to be afraid of a hard life in the future. Her father was old and needed someone to take care of him. All these factors made the girl feel tempted. She squeezed her father's hand again, but when her father looked over, she turned her head away. The old man knew what his daughter was thinking. He looked at Zhang Dashan, who was eating the chicken head, and said, Dashan, I can agree to what you said. What do you think of my daughter? Me? I don't know. I have to go back and ask my mother. Why don't we go and ask my master? If he says yes, then yes. If he says no, then no. Zhang Dashan had not come into contact with women outside, so he was also very shy. He chewed the chicken head until it was crushed, but he still could not make up his mind. The old man really did not understand. Zhang Dashan looked simple and honest, but he was actually quite clever. Why did he have to ask the main house about this kind of thing? Why would the main house care about such small things? He asked, what if your master is wrong? Master will not be wrong. You don't know how powerful the main house is. The main house never does anything wrong. There is a boat in front with the main house's flag. Let's go and see. As Zhang Dashan spoke, he saw a flag with rice seedlings in front of them. It made him feel very familiar. With rice seedlings there was no need to worry. The 6 of them paddled the water with their hands, slightly changing the direction of the log, and headed towards the boat. As soon as they got close, the people on the boat were preparing hot soup, which was actually hot porridge. When they saw Zhang Dashan, they said in surprise, Dashan, is that you? What are you doing here? Come here and drink some hot soup. The person guarding the boat was Su Si, who was now also a member of the inner courtyard. The matters of the market had been handed over to Ergo, so he had other uses. When he saw Zhang Dashan, he was a little surprised. Su Si, you're here. Let me see what soup you made. The soup you made is really hard to compliment. How is this soup? There's so much minced meat. It's almost like meat porridge. Add more chopped green onions. If you don't want any, then add some ginger. You've really tortured me these past 2 days. Zhang Dashan saw another relative. He took the soup and gave it to the other 5 people first. When it was his turn, he put in more ginger. Brother Dashan, my father and I also want some ginger, the woman said softly. At this time, she had already decided to marry Zhang Dashan. Not to mention other things, the power of the Zhang family made her think so. In front of them, there were guards patrolling the water, and on the way there was a boat of the Zhang family providing hot porridge. From Zhang Dashan's 2 interactions with people, she knew how capable the Zhang family was. She would have a good life with such a person. Zhang Dashan scratched his head and said to Su Si, add some ginger for them too. If it doesn't work out, put it on my tab. Give them 1 egg too. These eggs are mine. Others don't have them. Since I met you, the Zhang family has to treat our own people differently from others. That's why I took them out. There are only 2 of them. You decide for yourself. Chapter 31. Some are happy, some are sad. When Su Si added ginger to the other 5 people's bowls, he also put a tea egg in Zhang Dashan's bowl. He thought that the Zhang family's treatment must be better than others. He didn't expect that Zhang Dashan would take a fancy to the woman and ask for one too. Seeing that another herbal tea egg had been placed in the bowl, Zhang Dashan used a spoon to scoop it into the old man's and the woman's bowls. He didn't have any for himself, so he said to the old man, Uncle, you eat it. This herbal tea egg can't be eaten by most people. The real herbal tea egg smells like Xinyang Maojian. After saying this to the old man, Zhang Dashan said to the woman, you try it too. The food cooked by the Zhang family is definitely not bad. Brother Dashan, I'll share half with you. The woman bit off half of the egg in one bite, spat it into the bowl, and brought the other half back with a spoon. No, no, you eat it, Zhang Dashan said as he took the other half of the egg. Su Si was such a smart person, so of course he didn't make a mistake. He smiled at Zhang Dashan and said, Dashan, you have the ability, but you have to think carefully. You have to sign a death contract. Otherwise, not only the main family won't agree, but we also won't agree. You know how valuable the things produced by the Zhang family are. No, no, Brother Su, you're wrong. Not yet. We have to wait until we go back and ask the master. Zhang Dashan didn't dare to look Su Si in the eye and lowered his head. The woman dared to love and hate. She said, Brother Dashan, don't worry. I'm willing to sign a death contract. I can see that being a farmer in the Zhang family is better than being a rich person outside. At least when there's a flood, the rich people won't have the ability to send people to help. They also won't have hot soup and eggs on the way. The Zhang family's farmers can do it. What's there to be dissatisfied with? Brother Dashan, you can still come out. The Zhuangzi's management is not strict. Isn't it just that they don't tell outsiders what they see and hear? I can do it. Su Si looked at the woman and was very surprised. She was really unusual. He nodded and said, well, at least I agree. Just like what the young master and the young lady said, it's better to be a dog in peace than to cause trouble. But even in troubled times, the Zhang family and the Wang family are still people. The Zhang family and the Wang family are different. Here, sister, this is for you as a brother. Eat it quickly. You may not have it when you go to the next place. It's beef. You can't eat it normally. As he spoke, Su Si handed over a beef bun. It was a palm-sized bun with a lot of beef, coriander, chopped green onions, chili sauce, and sesame oil. The woman took it graciously. She knew the value of beef. It wasn't something that could be bought with money. The Zhang family was really good. They were rich and generous to make such food for the people they sent. Holding the beef bun, the woman first said to Zhang Dashan, Brother Dashan, you take a big bite. I'll give the rest to my father. Zhang Dashan shook his head. You guys eat. If I want to eat, I just have to go there and tell the master personally. If the master has beef, he will give it to me. The master treats the farmers very well. Brother Dashan, take a bite. Otherwise we won't eat. The woman handed the bun forward again. Zhang Dashan had no choice. He took a small bite, chewed it in his mouth and tasted it. He asked, who made this? Is the meat not boiled? Why are you so nosy? Boiled? Is there so much wood? The young lady made it. What are you trying to say? Su Si glared at him and asked. It's delicious. So it was the young lady who made it. It's good that it's not boiled. It has a special taste. It's fresh. No wonder I drooled so much. I won't be able to eat anything better in my life. Zhang Dashan immediately followed the conversation. Even if the food was hard to swallow, he wouldn't dare say no to the young lady's cooking, let alone the fact that it tasted good. The woman next to him let her father take a bite first. Then she took a small bite and tasted it. She said to Zhang Dashan, Brother Dashan, I think it's delicious. Well, it's delicious, but it's not boiled. The taste of this beef, it's really delicious. Zhang Dashan really didn't know what to say. Su Si laughed and patted Zhang Dashan on the shoulder. He said, this is made by the locals. How could the young lady make such beef? If it was really made by the young lady, you won't be able to eat anything else in the future. How could the young lady forget to boil it once? Not only does the young lady know how to boil it, but she also knows how to braise it once. Drink the soup and leave quickly. Leave the bowl for me. Zhang Dashan looked at Su Si gloomily. He had just tasted it and found the taste of laxative. That was why he said that the meat was not boiled. Now that he heard Su Si's words, he couldn't say that it was bad. He could only say to the woman, this meat is really bad. When we get there, I'll cook it for you personally. The person who cooked it didn't put in any effort at all. Zhang Dashan's mouth was picky, but others weren't like him. The old man took a bite, the woman took a bite, and the other 3 people each took a bite. The woman slowly ate the rest by herself. Although it was just a single beef bun, it was very precious to the 5 of them. The soup was also good. After drinking a bowl, they were basically full. The 6 of them said goodbye to Su Si and continued to paddle to their destination. However, they were in a different state from before. Previously, the 5 of them were prepared to wait for death. Now they were full of hope for the future. At this time, a person who had been silent all this time spoke. Zhang Dashan, is your master really Luzhou's provincial governor? I really envy the people here. I think many of them will be saved. I wonder if your master will agree to people from other provinces coming to live here? Yes, he will definitely agree. Master is not afraid of too many people. As long as you want to live here, master may even give you some land. You don't have to worry about the rent. This year there was a flood here. Not to mention the rent, even the tribute will be exempted. When the water recedes, at least you can plant some crops. The master won't collect rent this year. If he collects rent next year when everyone is done planting, it will be much easier. You don't have to worry about the master charging more. The Zhang family is not short of money. The master won't care about that little thing. Zhang Dashan knew the master's family very well. The more people the better. When the time came they could arrange for people to work. Otherwise, if there were not enough people, many things could not be done. The person who asked the question was relieved. He just wanted to take root in Luzhou. With such an official, his life in the future would be easy. At this time, the person who wanted to rope in Zhang Dashan also asked, Zhang Dashan, do you think your master will do some business with me after the water recedes? Zhang Dashan turned his head and looked at him. How much capital do you have? If it's too little, don't think about it. You have to have at least 1,000 strings of coins. Alright, 1,000 strings of cash it is. I can still raise the money. When we reach the place you have to put in a good word for me. When the person heard the offer of 1,000 strings of cash, he did not hesitate at all and directly agreed. Although he did not have that much money, he could borrow it. As a businessman he felt that this was an opportunity, a great opportunity. If he missed it he would regret it for the rest of his life. The 6 people relaxed and began to chat. Most of the time it was Zhang Dashan talking. He talked about Zhuangzi, between the clouds and the water, and the situation in the county back then and how it was now. The 5 of them listened attentively. They were very eager to go there and take a look. The woman put all her heart on Zhang Dashan. She listened and watched there, imagining her life in the future. As she thought about it, her face turned red again. The 6 of them were happy, but 4 of them were unhappy. Fan Jianxi and the other judges worked together and built many wooden rafts. Their family members and servants were on these wooden rafts. More than 30 wooden rafts were used to load all the things and people in the family. Who knew that after they arrived, the people here did not allow their rafts to get close. The wind was strong, so more than 30 wooden rafts had to be connected to each other. When it was almost night time, they found an important problem. They did not prepare ready-made food. There were raw things, but how were they going to eat raw rice and noodles? In order not to starve, Fan Jianxi personally negotiated with the people on land. In the end they came to a conclusion. A steamed bun was 200 coins, a bowl of egg drop soup was 100 coins, 2 spoons of soy sauce was 50 coins, and 1 head was 100 coins. The price was dozens or even hundreds of times higher than usual. The 4 of them were dumbfounded. This is too expensive. How can they ask for so much money? They must be doing it on purpose. They are deliberately tricking us. Fan Jianxi stomped her feet and said to the 3 of them. The 3 of them also knew that the price was very unreasonable, but there was nothing they could do. They had already thought that Zhang Zhong was deliberately tricking them. If they went to Zhang Zhong now, it would not end well. Lu Shaoqing said with a gloomy face, then buy more. When we have enough we will not stay here. We will go directly to Qinzhou. With his instructions the servants ran over to buy. When they came back, the 4 of them found that the things they bought were only enough for everyone in the 4 families to eat 1 meal. Just this meal alone cost more than 100 strings of coins. What about the next meal? Lu Shaoqing asked the servant who bought the things. In reply to master, there is nothing for the next meal, only this meal. They said that they would wait for the price to come out before they can continue to sell. It seems that the amount of money for each meal is different. The servant respectfully replied. On purpose, they are doing it on purpose. Damn that Zhang Zhong. He must be afraid that we will leave, so he only sold us a few things. How about this, we can let the others eat less or starve for a few meals and save up. When we get to Qinzhou we will be fine. You're tuning in to the Dreamy Chapters YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.